right, let's do a cheers to the Sobeys and Safeway Liquid Beers of the podcast.
Be right again.
I love you guys.
Careful, that cake's hot.
Check-in, come on, let's go. It's the AM Nasty Big Hello.
It's not static, AM radio.
It's the Cool Ben Red Hot Nielson Show. Let's go. Everybody tuning in, even my wife.
Mommy likes too.
And those Macromala intros are cutting like a knife. Hey, it's Mitch texting in, he's your dealer for life. Let's crack a 6 o'clock and lager with some sirloin bites.
And a good Monday morning to you, 6:04 on the Nielsen Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, streaming worldwide on the iHeart and TuneIn radio apps, and as always on YouTube. Lieutenant Eric, Joaquin Gage in for Dustin Nielson this morning, and YouTube Trev, who on a Monday morning has elevated duties this morning as he's looking after all of the music, the audio, the conchas, the didgeridoos, anything else of that sort. So if you have a conch request on a Monday morning, please send it into YouTube Trev and he'll take care of you. It's hot still. Don't need to really talk too much about that. And the Elks lost. Don't need to talk too much about that as well. But we are now 5 days away from the Connor McDavid wedding, folks. 5 days away. The excitement is palpable. I don't know what to do with my hands.
I'm thinking, who's going to catch the bouquet? Sorry for the voice, too.
Well, we have a weekend to discuss here. And it's funny because Dusty was away, of course, CFL duties, doing the Stamps Lions, very entertaining tilt to wrap Week 7 last night down in Calgary. But we give him this time so that he can, get the voice back going. You've been coaching all weekend long. Monday morning show, big deal. I'm in.
Yeah, no, it's taken a beating. It's actually better than it usually is. Usually it's quite raspy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a low baritone, so hopefully people don't fall right back asleep with these soothing sounds.
I tell you, sometimes that day after voice when you're out yelling at a sporting event, like screaming or whatever,
Yeah.
a day, maybe at the second day, you've got that like Jim Leland 2-pack smoke type of thing. And
it's a little Marlboro lightish, I think, is what my voice is. A Sam Elliott, hopefully a little bit.
A mustache or no mustache, I don't care, man. If you want Joaquin Gage to read something today, anything, text it in, 780-218-9999. That phone book type of deal. Maybe we'll get a line from a movie, some sort of scene, anything you want Joaquin Gage to do with this voice. And I'm telling you, it's not bothering me too much.
maybe the whole Lord of the Rings.
Hour
trilogy.
2, we're blowing it out, and Gage will do it. But anything you want from him, again, these voice days don't come along. Maybe we'll do the wide shot show as well with the voice today. Wouldn't that be something? But appreciate your time. How was you were coaching? Again, a little recap of all this, the tournament that it was. You came so close in the end.
Yeah, no, I thought this might have been my year. I coached the Blues.
Yes.
Great kids, by the way. Just phenomenal little athletes. It's always fun to hear their how they talk back and they give you their input on how
the
things
modern
are
day
done.
slang for the game. Yeah,
it's pretty. But for the most part, they were all really, really coachable kids and listened to me. I had some studs on my team. what was surprising was, unfortunately, it's the Mac T Invitational.
Okay. Yep.
Mac T got COVID, I guess, or got really sick, and he couldn't participate. And it was also the weekend where he got inducted to the Alberta Hall of Fame too.
Yes.
So Sean, his son, was writing the speech, and it was what should I say? Because he had to go down on Saturday to Red Deer to do the acceptance speech, but some of the things he was saying, I go, Sean, it isn't a roast, like it was, so. But I think everything turned out well.
Pages upon pages, they start playing the song. And
congratulations to Mac T being inducted to the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame. I think Kelly Kissio.
Kelly Kissio, that's a name.
Dave King was inducted, and also I think his name's Jerome McGinley, something like that.
Jerome. That's what I think the proper pronunciation there. But that's a hell of a field.
Yeah, that's
a good handful of names there.
Well, yeah, and guys that teeter on the big Hall of Fame too. It's amazing. So good for them.
I did drop by yesterday doing a bit of scouting work on you. I saw you leaning over the bench, real players coach. You're not standing on with the hands clasped behind. You are down there running the gate. You're in the ears. You're actually, at one point I saw you, and it was you were watching what was on the ice, and you used your hands like you was Matrix. You're trying to like pull the player, like it was like chess pieces, and you're like, you go there and stop, push. Like it was almost like a soccer coach kind of doing the tactics in a sense.
I get caught up in it.
I love it.
It's crazy. I think, okay, just I don't want to be. They're just kids.
Yeah,
they're 9, so they're.
But you do get a bit of a sometimes a temptation.
You want them to take something away,
yes.
Right? And learn a little bit of it, and then just positioning at that age. I mean, the gravitational pull of the puck at age 9 it's like the sun, okay? And to just kind of read the play. The biggest thing I tell everyone, I ask them who the best player is, and they all say Connor McDavid is the best player. And I go, well, why is he a good player? And they go, he's so fast, he's so he's shot, whatever, all this stuff. I go, and one of the biggest things is he's the smartest hockey
intelligence.
Player too. Yeah. So don't, every time you go on the ice, go out with a purpose. And it was great. I mean, my what was his name? God, I got to look up this. There was some great names at this tournament.
Good thing about this is you can save these receipts, and then in however many years' time say, yeah, well, I told you.
This little kid was my defenseman on my team, and he was just a stud. I think there's a good chance he could play probably on the Brick team, just because he sees the game when he
the intelligence again.
And Wes Suda was just rock star name for a hockey player. If he doesn't make, he's got to make it just on his name alone. But thank you, Wes. You were a treat to coach. He was unbelievable, and the star of the tournament, where you're just like, how is this kid doing the thing? Like, he's toe dragging. He's
cut above.
Oh, it's like he has his head up the whole time as a 9-year-old, like looking to make plays. Hendricks McMillan, and I mean a lot.
Hendricks with an X.
Yeah,
oh, boy.
Hendricks McMillan, you are an absolute stud. He was on the Oilers team, and they were down a coach. I went out there and coached him in his semifinal game. And he had. I thought the game was over because the puck was on his stick. OT, 3-on-3.
That's
right
the dream.
front.
That's what you want.
And the goalie made a big save. And it's sad because you see them repeat the types of things that they see their heroes do on TV. Like, he put his hand, but he was crying. And
that's emotion.
Yeah. Oh,
that's emotion.
It's unbelievable emotion in these things. And some of the parents were like, "Oh, he's crying," and all upset that their kids were crying. And I'm like, I'd be more upset if they weren't crying, because they're just that means it means so much to them. And if hockey is that important and they're giving it their all, like that's an honest reaction to something really important. So it was tough to watch, but I was also happy it meant a lot.
Well, let's be honest. You're at the mall. The parents too make such a big deal about this. So to think that the kid's not going to get that emotion as well. Like, I mean, it all kind of comes out there.
It was great.
We'll have more on this tournament if the voice. I mean, the requests now are flying in.
Oh, God.
But you could talk about the full tournament. I would sit down and pour one and listen to you.
I don't know how this happened, but Kelly Buckberger goes back to back as champions at the MACT. The Rangers were a team of destiny. We had them in the semifinals. We crushed them in the regular season. so
Okay,
to speak.
yeah.
And he went on a roll. Beat the Bruins that were coached by Dave Cooper and Oiler great Jason Chimera. And I thought the Bruins were gonna roll in the finals, and they lost 6-5 in OT. So just
OT?
yeah, they went to 3 OT games to get to the final there. So it was
Rocking
great.
at the mall yesterday.
Yeah, it was great. You know what the coolest thing in the mall too is everyone sees the scoreboard and then they're like, oh, there's some cheering around. All of a sudden you look up and you think you're in the Colosseum in Rome.
Oh, it was
you know?
packed, baby.
Yeah,
I was
it
around there around noon, I want to say, and you were on the.
Yeah.
I don't know if what game number that was.
Yeah,
the
middle
first one or
game,
yeah.
yeah. Second
But it
game,
was
it was packed.
I
Like,
needed a
looked-
ticket almost to get a good sight line.
Yeah,
but
I looked up and it's tough because you get to overtime and you want everyone to play, but you got your little studs that could probably end it quick, and you're like, oh, okay, come on. I was
you double shifting some guys there.
It's yeah. Sometimes you hide some minutes, but all's fair. All's fair in love and hockey.
This is great, and keep the requests coming in. I'm seeing a lot of Taken. I'm seeing a lot of the Taken phone call. Anything you want Gage to read today, let's make that happen. Maybe a little phrase from a movie. 780-218-9999. That's the Paris Jewelers inbox. That's where you can get in for text of the day today. Paris Jewelers, you know them, you love them. www.parisjewelers.com. But $20 to A&W for text of the day today as well. They got that frozen root beer deal right now. Buy one, get one free. And it's going to go well with the heat as that continues today. 34 for a high today. A little bit of smoke as well. Hopefully the Riverhawks get their game in tonight. They're scheduled to host Nanaimo later this evening at 7. Of course, the Riverhawks schedule over the weekend a little mixed up due to the smoke and the heat. 780-218-9999. Jimbo asks, though, the people want to know about YTT's Friday evening, and he uses an eyes emoji and an ear emoji. It was a busy weekend heading into the weekend for young YouTube Trev, as he got an AC unit gifted to him by Jason Milne. That was the bet that Jason made earlier in the week. Jason paid his bet. YTT's got an AC unit. He had a big date Friday night. Of course, as I mentioned, the ball game schedules kind of got a little wonky. So we bring in YouTube Trev. A good weekend?
Oh, gosh.
A great weekend? A so-so weekend? How would you kind of grade this one?
This weekend was a great weekend. Yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun. There was a 2-hour delay in the Riverhawks game, so that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But we
But
really
you stayed for it, though, eh?
We stayed
Yeah.
for it. We really got to. That was kind of the mingling time, if you will. We
How
got
late
to
did that go?
We got to
did
know
that go
each other.
pretty late? Like it started at 9, I think.
Yeah, it started at 9, and they only went 7 innings, so it was about till 11.
It's not bad
Oh
under
no,
the
it
lights.
was like 11:45. Yeah, it was a late night, and then it was just good.
And then?
yeah. It was dropped her off and whatnot, and then I came here and
Back for Hello Hockey.
and then I was back for Hello Hockey.
Yada.
That's about it. But it went. I'll just say this: it went good. It went real good.
He's smiling huge, folks. You can't
Yeah.
wipe the grin off the face.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was sweet. And then what's that, Gager? Yes.
Oh no, I was just saying to you, she accepted your what is it, the first date rose?
Yeah, I
She-
think so.
She accepted
She
the
accepted
rose?
it. She
Held
accepted
hands
it
around
for
the
sure.
concourse.
It was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, so that part was awesome. And then I said I had some friends come down, so we went to White on the Saturday, and just I was kind of, as soon as Hello Hockey finished, it was our last show of the season, which was just a great season. It was actually really, really cool, but it was nice to celebrate that afterwards with the friends, and kind
Yeah.
of just went back home, played some beer darts, Beersby, beer pong, all the beer games, and it was
Wow, to be young again.
it was very good. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. This weekend was awesome. I'm definitely gonna remember this one. And the boys, I told the boys all about it. It was awesome, and that's all about I can say. I think.
You went into great detail on Hello Hockey if you want to rewind that episode as well.
Yeah, I did.
All detail about the weekend there with Gazzola and Belzy.
Definitely more detail on that one.
What time were you on White on Saturday?
Probably 8 o'clock till 11.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
No. I had to help my son, my responsible son, went down there and
very
had
good.
to go pick him up after Usually he doesn't partake in too many beverages, but yeah, he's. I was down there, so too bad.
Ah, darn.
Could have maybe hooked up with Trev.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That would've
would've
been funny.
Cool. Have some shots.
A little bit of Trev to go around for everybody on the weekend. Hey, it seems. YTT Burglar says a man who drops a girl off after a date is a real man.
Yep.
So no debate there. Hungover man in GP says need Gager to sing Betty Davis eyes, then permanent clip. Lacombe Drew also wants you saying no, not today. If you could maybe.
No, not today.
Wow, that's good.
Did YTT close? Pizza Guy Justin. I'll let you know what the text line, the Paris Jewelers inbox is great because we can read them out loud. We can see all the text. But if you want to ask Pizza Guy Justin, YTT's got access, and you guys can have a little back and forth as you do. No harm there. Teacher Arlo again checking in from Kyoto, Japan. Let's put it on the map. I do believe we did that Friday. Teacher Arlo, that was one of Zach's many duties around here. But if he didn't, we'll slap his wrists and get him going. It's a good show, a fun show, a busy show as well. Always on a Monday, recapping the weekend that happened. Usually Dustin is in for these Monday shows, so it's a little weird doing one. Usually it's Thursday, Friday in our world here, setting up the CFL picture instead of knocking it down. But we'll do our best today. Once again, lots of stuff to get to. Want to let you know that the Nielson Show, proudly presented by South Fort Chevrolet. You can check them out today, www.southfortchev, 10109 89th Avenue, Fort Saskatchewan. Go see Daniel and the team. Tell them Dusty and EST sent you 15% off accessories for your new ride during the month of July. They are your go-to dealership for Silverado 1500s and heavy duties. 0% financing available as well on select models. See dealer for details. South Fort Chevrolet. We love them. We were racing on the weekend as well. Tim Hauraney will be by. Set up the show real quickly for you. He'll be our first guest of the day around 7:05. Lots to break down out of Hungary.
My gosh.
And you are salivating at this. I mean, it's one thing to do that tournament there and coach and everything, but I know that you had to go there after watching the race. You're probably still the race going on in your mind and all these questions. And I mean, multiple teams and multiple storylines coming out of this. Well, not just usually some race provides you with one storyline at the top of the grid, somebody maybe, but this was all over the place.
Yeah, there was something. This episode of Drive to Survive next year will be the best one. I thought there was earlier ones that might, rival, but the amount of radio chatter that you heard, the angst, the anger between pit walls and drivers, it was awesome.
And with that temperature of anger suggests to me that perhaps a few people worrying about a bit of a change of guard.
I think there is.
Like this seems like kind of one of those races where you can look back on and say, this is interesting. A lot of things transpired that.
I mean, everyone's testy. I always thought it's always difficult for a professional athlete to be at the highest level. Like the senses are going crazy. The communication from brain to mouth doesn't always click, and sometimes
especially when you're
you're in it. You're nuts. You can't function properly when or say the right thing or take time to really think about it. And it's just great TV to hear what guys are actually thinking in the moment, and I don't think that there's any real animosity. You see drivers after they're done or their teams kind of cool off. That's why they have the whole meetings afterwards and things like that. But man, that was something else to hear the chatter.
I'm here writing an email. Zach's talking to me. I can't do both at once. I'm like, Zach, shut up. I got to write this, but to drive and switch gears and then have a not just a conversation, but like an intelligent, like, hey, this happened here and I had to do this.
Well, there was
couldn't trust myself on the radio.
There was a moment where, Max was complaining that he came in too early, essentially, to get new tires, and trying to warm them back up. Usually, you don't blow it out on that lap, right? You're getting them in the right window, and then the pit wall was a gradual first lap because he just he pinned it, and then his retort back, you guys screwed that. Like it was just, you screwed up
what
my race.
What are we doing here? You screwed up all the planning.
Yes. It was fantastic, man. Just fantastic.
And I think whenever it's him and Red Bull, I mean, we all kind of collectively take a sly grin at it all, unless you are a Red Bull, enthusiast. But it's always nice to see the top kind of get a bit of a hit.
And I don't know, my whole feed was on all platforms was the Lewis Hamilton and Max little bump there, and what Max did wrong, what Lewis did wrong. Max
is in the wrong, is he not? I mean, technically, I guess you can't be turning right into it. Like Lewis made a play in the turn, but you can't go into it and then just like stop and lock up and then.
Well, I think you have the right of way if you hit the apex and you're ahead of the other car, which Max was, but he also.
But then you can't just.
But you can't lock up the
yeah,
tires.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Too,
What's he
right?
supposed to do?
He's got to kind of turn, and Lewis was okay. Well, but I'm going to turn and cover him off. But Max just kept straight. He didn't turn at all. So I think Max is in the wrong there. We'll ask Tim.
Oh yeah,
and see what
Tim
he
was
said.
trying his darndest to break it down on TSN last night too. It confused Laura Dykin. It's kind of. He's like, well, and also the Piastri Norris stuff, which again to people who are just kind of a general race fan, you're like, why? And
everyone asks me, well, who's your favorite racer? Who's your favorite racer? And I have to say, like, Oscar Piastri has been one of my favorites to watch. Just his calm demeanor, the way he's young too.
Yeah.
So, but
easy
to see
get
him,
behind there.
I thought he was going to win his first race this year, and it's happened. He's a stud. Lando's a stud too. That team's very formidable.
But when you win it like that, I'm glad you said team because it's all about the team right now for McLaren. But winning it like you do, it's kind of
yeah. And you just don't understand how the gap, especially to take advantage of Max knowing that he's in fifth place, right? He's not. And Lando possibly getting the 25 points could have brought, reeled Max in a little bit closer. Yeah. But saying that, I don't know. I think Red Bull has brought in a lot of upgrades lately, but that McLaren car looks formidable. And even a car is formidable is when Christian Horner starts complaining about it. Right, and trying to poke holes in certain things. He hasn't said a word about McLaren in years, and all of a sudden he goes, "There's something wrong."
Quite the tell.
Yeah. It's
those beads of sweat are starting to.
And the whole thing throughout the whole year, just with Red Bull, the cracks in the dike are starting to show.
Amazing to have Joaquin in on a Monday after a compelling race that comes in from Library Pat. So once again, Tim Hauraney, 7:05. We'll also touch on the Toronto Indy, which went down this weekend as well. Tim was boots on the ground there, so we'll get his thoughts on that as well. This text flies in. Can we hear Gage say it's lights out and away we go?
I can't do it like the.
But your voice. I think they want it more of a. They don't want it that pumpy British thing. They want you. Well, it's lights out and away we go. That type of thing.
That's yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
It's lights out and away we go.
That sounds nice.
God, hey,
that's real nice.
Come on now. With the comment like that from Max, Big Maple says, do you ever stop and wonder if the drivers think that their crews are self-sabotaging to help accentuate the drama for Drive to Survive? That's sports, baby. Sports storylines sometimes are so out there, and you're like, it's like a football team going 0-6 and losing so much that you're like, what the hell is happening here? When you have a defense that actually shows up for a game and then the offense doesn't, and your kicker misses 3 and 9 points are off the board, which could have easily led to a win. Man, I don't even want to talk. They'll feature in the bad, the ugly, and probably some other places on this show. I'm sure Maddie will be tearing them up in the Hangout today. Ooh. It's going from, look, they made the change. You don't just make a change like that and everything goes good again. It's not like most sports, some sports, you can argue making a coaching change and maybe his ideals and his strategy wasn't working. I don't think that's so much the case as you needed to get the stink of Chris Jones just out of here. They need ownership to be settled down. That all needs to happen first. Jarius Jackson, never been in this position before. When once again the defense, which has been the weak point, showing up in Ottawa Friday. Yeah, so you got 3 phases of the game, your defense, special teams, offense, and usually just one's clicking. I mean, the offense has been playing, I think, decent thus far. They've been making some situational mistakes, but McLeod Bethel-Thompson not really showing up. They suffered some injuries, which have really taken a bite out of the team. MBT complaining again about the short week, which I think a little warranted, but at this point it gets to the complaining side, and you're losing, you're complaining, it's all wrapped into one. So
I've watched, a handful of spotty games, and Bethel-Thompson to me has looked like quite serviceable quarterback.
He is, yes.
But that game I watched a lot of just with the hopes that my dogs might taste a little bit better come next Sunday. Mm-hmm. And he didn't look good.
He didn't, and it's too bad because, well, not too bad, but maybe this is what needs to happen because it's been this debate between Trey and him. Well, we saw a bit of Trey on Friday that didn't really light things up either. However, that was the one bad offensive game. I know McLeod Bethel-Thompson can point to an odd picker there, but he's putting up some good numbers overall. Yeah. This game was nothing. No bad numbers. Couldn't get the. Now again, if BD hits those field goals, if, ands, or buts, but maybe this is the game where now you're 0-6. What have we got to lose? Trey Ford has had success against his hometown Tiger Cats, who did get off the schneid this past weekend as well. They have a terrible defense in Hamilton. So maybe, just maybe, you're coming home 0-6. You need a little pop. You need a little spring in your step here to get the fans on board. Maybe just say, here, Trey, take the ball, run with it here, just for a game and see what happens. Because right now, you're 0-6. And again, I wasn't expecting a big 56-0 win or anything like that. And this is going to be, but it's the nature in which they're losing these games, which is the most frustrating. If you're bad, you're bad. If you have a terrible roster and you're getting pounded and blown out every second week, that's fine. I think you can kind of live with that and know what's there. But this team's got stuff, and they just can't put it together all three phases. That's the frustrating part. But more on that, too, as we make our way through the show. We'll hit a sports update here in a couple of minutes, but rest of the program looks like this. Cool Bet after Tim Hauraney, around 7:20. We'll get you a line of the day. Mix and match. If you got Oilers line combos you want to share, you got any lines? It's July 22, and we need some lines here. We need a little something. We'll be doing a mix and match for Pro-Am Sports coming up at 7:30. Once again, if you have any, or you want to take a run at some defensive pairings, how do you think the blue line sets and starts come puck drop on opening night? Let us know, 780-218-9999, or in the nasty chat. That's good for the Italian Center Shop. That'll round out hour number 2. Hour number 3, kind of easy trivia, 3 questions too many. That hurts for SBLLP injury lawyers. Gabe Lacques, USA Today. You know him. It's the dog days of summer, and with baseball right now where it's at, we want to get some ideas on the Jays. 8 days out from the trade deadline. They lose yet another series over the weekend, avoiding the sweep yesterday at the hands of the Tigers, but Jays' struggles continue. We'll see where they're at roster-wise ahead of the trade deadline, NL wildcard chase as well, and get Gabe's thoughts on the All-Star Game, Home Run Derby, all that stuff, and also 4 players inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame, so we'll get his thoughts on that as well. 2025 MLB schedule released, and the Jays will be visiting the Sacramento Athletics next summer in the hottest spell of the summer down in Sacramento. So judging by the status of that turf right now and the temperatures, it should be a pretty blistering summer for the Jays down Sacramento. But that's a long ways away. Gabe Lacques, USA Today. He'll be by around 8:30 as we are, I think, July 22 with the Olympics on the horizon. Of course, we said McDavid's wedding 5 days away. But is this now the dog day, no plural, of summer? Like, are we here?
Yeah, I mean,
post All-Star break, kind of in that cushy middle here.
This is really rough, so to speak. But no, this with Olympics on the horizon, that's going to change everything. It's usually TVs are on and there's nothing else on.
Well, we're talking about captain skates. We'd have the potential of.
So
now this will take us there.
This will extend it in there, and of course the wedding. We have the wedding that we have. I mean, Trev's love life. We have to see what the if I don't know. Is there what was it called, the fantasy suite? I don't know. Maybe the next time gets to the fantasy suite. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But a few more roses, maybe a group date. I don't know what's
some
what's
candle
in store.
wax, some leather. You know where they get the leather. If Trev needs a leather guy, maybe give yourself a conch, Trev. Let's go. Come on for the weekend it was. As well, and a busy week here at EST, a busy week, as we'll be having a draft going down on Thursday, the EST draft of film and movie props. You saw Indiana Jones' hat going for a cool $500,000 online at an auction. Oh, yeah. Maybe that changes the structure of the draft boards for people.
How does Harrison Ford not have that in his house?
Well, does he get, every time somebody puts it on their head, he gets like a payment or something like that he's going to on some sort of thing. And then we have the Nasty Bash that's coming up Friday, St. Albert Rugby Club. That's going to be something. And I do feel as though last summer when we were gassed and we had all this time to prepare for the party, golden tickets and everything, lots going on right now, but that Nasty Bash, don't want it to fall under the radar. You got this week, and that's it. Friday is the Nasty Bash. If you want an email, Matt, M-A-T-T, at Edmonton Sports Talk. Matt at Edmonton Sports Talk. If you want into the Nasty Bash, don't sleep on this puppy, because this week is going to be a monumental week. I say dog day of summer today, but this week will be huge for Edmonton Sports Talk moving forward.
I mean, it looks like it's going to be a cooler night, too. Yeah,
Dustin Nielson will be loving this. He'll be on his knees out in the patio with the rain coming down on his face, being like, I love it. But a bit of a reprieve from the temperatures and hopefully the smoke as well, beginning Thursday and into Friday. But a couple of hot ones ahead here. Let's hit a sports update. We'll be back. A little more getting you set for the week. How was your weekend? Let us know. 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat. But sports update ahead of a good, bad, and ugly from the weekend that was. Jake Mayer tossing 3 touchdowns as the Stampeders remain perfect at home following a 25-24 win over the BC Lions. The Elks, they fell to 0-6 Friday with a 2014 loss in Ottawa. Week 8 will kick off Thursday from Montreal when the Alouettes host Saskatchewan. Elks return home to host the Ticats Sunday afternoon. Elks also announced running back Justin Rankin was added to the practice roster over the weekend, while the club also cut 4 players. Xander Schauffele with his second major victory of the year. He takes the Open Championship, overcoming a 2-shot deficit, finishing with a 665 to give the Americans a sweep of the 4 majors for the first time since 1982. On the diamond, heat and smoke made it difficult to get the games in, but a doubleheader last night, so the Riverhawks dropped 2 of 3 over the weekend to the Springfield Drifters. Hawks' 9-game homestand continues tonight when they host Nanaimo. It's a game we'll have for you here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Coverage gets underway shortly after 7. Edmonton 3 games back of division-leading Wenatchee entering play today. Prospects shut out 9-0 out in Sylvan Lake by the Gulls. Prospects remain on the road. They'll visit Fort McMurray tomorrow. Jays avoid the series sweep with a 5-4 victory over the Tigers. Jays will host the Rays for 3 starting tomorrow as MLB's trade deadline falls next Tuesday. Canada's national men's basketball team wrapped up pre-Olympic play with a 103-93 exhibition win over Puerto Rico. Canadians open the Olympic basketball competition Saturday against 14th-ranked Greece. Along with Greece, Canada are in Group A, the tournament's so-called Group of Death, with number 2 Spain and number 5 Australia.
Closer to the hollow, the devil may care. If I showed you around my heart, would you mind if I shared to show you what's wrong with me? I will not change it. I will wait patiently while you get painted out. Let me into your untainted tribe to be the one who gets to live a lie. Oh, let me lie with you. I'll be a perfect stranger. I wanna be that stupid boy that you don't talk about. You better believe there's a sharp knife beside my bed. You better believe there's a sharp knife inside my head. And if you would leave, I would take you by the hand. You and I would leave, but it wouldn't be that bad.
Flawless as usual, the boys from Whale and the Wolf, 6:34 here on the Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, streaming on the iHeart and TuneIn radio app and on YouTube. If you're on YouTube this morning, hey, I see a 9.51K. Was that there when we left on Friday?
Oh, no, that's news to me.
That's new, eh?
Yeah.
I'm looking at a
Let's
good
see.
number there.
We
9.51
did it.
subscribers.
We did it.
So let's get on that. If you haven't hit the sub yet, please subscribe. It is free. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't get annoyed by emails and the such. And pound that thumbs up, too. Helps the algorithm. So hit the like, hit the sub if you haven't already. It sure goes a long way to help us out. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Eric Joaquin Gage in for Dustin Nielson this morning, who had the call last night in the Stamps nail-biting win over the Lions down in Calgary. Stampeders now perfect at home and winless on the road. And YouTube Trev also behind the monitors. Hey, boys, really looking forward to the Nasty Bash this Friday. Question for you. Is this a suit and tie event or wear your best sweatpants type event? I think it's an event where you can wear whatever you want. Gage will have the leather on, right? I mean, the whole bit. And
Yeah, I might, yeah.
The St. Albert Rugby and Football Club, pardon me, is a prestigious place that during the week you need to know somebody to get in, that type of thing. They have name placards for the regulars. It is a very esteemed place. But for this event, with Fergie's Prostate's blessing, I think we that little picture of the king that they have hanging up, you just put a little cover over top of it. Don't let them see what we're doing here. And we get a little. So you wear whatever you want, Justin. Whatever it is, you call the shots here. As long as we aren't breaking the fire code, I think we should be all right. Yes, so once again, Riverhawks, it was kind of a rough weekend on the diamond in the scheduling for them, but they should be back tonight, 7:05. Once again, weather and smoke permitting, as we're looking to get up to a high of 34 this afternoon and maybe a bit of smoke as well. So be warned, take heed, but maybe see you down at the ballpark later tonight. Clothing optional. Yeah, VR Montenegro. You can, again, give it a shot. We'll see what happens there. It is a private event, so that's goes up to Fergie's prostate. He can say what he needs and get us where we need to be there. Siggy says, I'm just screwing around. Isn't that what this is for? Having fun, kind of ingenious, don't you think? No, I just, you were saying you didn't like the weekend that it was. I thought it was kind of good. He didn't like wasn't interested in the Open, State of the World. You know, if you're going to have those vibes, Siggy, you know, like you gotta switch it around, get another coffee. And Joaquin's been coaching all weekend, and now he's doing the show, and he's up and ready to go.
No, I mean, one thing, you can't, in my years on this planet, and it takes a while to figure out, and it's tough. It's really tough you always hear the stay in the moment type of thing. Stuart Skinner always said, stay in the moment, right? You can't do anything of what's just happened, right? All you can do is do everything you can to have a good next 5 minutes, I think. And it's kind of a good way to look at things at times. And maybe the weekend didn't go well, but I mean, so many good things to look forward to. Olympics, Nasty Bash, you know. Trev's Love Life. We're
doing
so
Oilers lines at 7:30 as well.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
so again, that's kind of if that speaks to the heart more so than anything.
How's Dusty been doing these? Is he getting really creative, or
how creative can you? I mean, the top six is like it's an exercise in just kind of moving chairs around here. But any way you go,
it's actually quite difficult to do. Like,
Is there anything that you would kind of throw a wrench in to say, look at this, like to surprise anybody or anything like that? I mean, everything seems kind of set for myself, as I said, in terms of just kind of rummaging around that bottom six.
Yeah. But I mean,
based on opponent,
you can really develop a consistent lineup throughout. Like, it's almost like two number one lines, a good and a 3 and 3A, 3B. Like, there's not really a fourth line. I guess there is.
Is that the sign of a good team, though, where you don't call them line 1, 2, 3, or 4? I mean, in a sense, you want to get to that point where you're.
I hate that. I hate the phrase top six, bottom six. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, especially when you're at a U9 tournament and parents are coming up to you. Oh, he plays top six. It's kind of funny.
You keeping the minutes? You got the minutes going?
Yeah, I got them on the stopwatch. But no, I realize it's there and it's a way to distinguish on your team, but. Especially for young kids, don't refer to them as top six or bottom six players.
So we'll maybe mess around with the bottom six.
I do like
that you can have a nice spine with this team now. It's construct if you so choose. I mean, I think it goes to opponent preference as well and how you set up and line up against other teams. But
that's the thing. Like a lot of people I see that. Well, where's the sandpaper? But then I look at who they're playing against in the Western Conference. I mean, what team has a ton of sandpaper? Like, is there a team in the Pacific Division? And maybe text in 780-218-99. Is there a team in the Pacific Division that you're worried about running the Oilers out of the rink physically? And I don't think there is a team.
Well, and this one says from Red as well, and maybe this is the one that the surprise for me would be if they put Nuge at 3C or not. And again, the option is there if you want it, if you so choose to use it, if you feel you need to. But I think most people would rather have him, up maybe top of the wing. But that's, again, you got options here, which is the great thing, I think.
Yeah, I think you'll see multiple different locations for Nuge because he's so consistent wherever he plays.
And that's good. You should be able, as a top-rate professional, it shouldn't be so static. You should be able to play a few.
And I love the late in a game, the two great defensive centers with Henrique and Nuge. Obviously Draisaitl too, but being able to put two centermen out and being very, very good at their positions wherever they are. Mm-hmm. Come on,
it's a coach's dream, hey? You know this being
if I would have had the trophy here. I saw it, like I was like, oh my gosh. And these kids are funny too. They're parading around that thing after the win and stuff. The ice manager, get off! Come on, you guys! But it was great. It was so great.
We are coming to you live from the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studio as well. Don't sleep on those boneless ghost pepper wings. Bone in, bone out, your choice. But go visit Popeyes today, and they'll get you going for anything you need, especially this heat. You want a little hot. I've been eating some hot noodles over the weekend as well. I feel it goes well with the heat. I don't know. I told you, I'm a salamander. I kind of like the heat. I know VR Montenegro said if it's over 30, I'm wearing a Speedo to the Nasty Bash. No, that's Box Pounder there. Pardon me. It won't be. It'll be actually, again, Friday, 20 degrees with a chance of showers. which would be nice. I mean, I think we'd all be dancing in the rain.
Probably don't want that Speedo. There will be a significant shrinkage that day.
20 degrees and a little wet. Huh? Box Pounder, you put your money where your mouth is. Hey, and we'll see. Is Jan coming as well? We'd love to see it, Mr. and Mrs. Box Pounder, if you could. You do get a +1 for this event. So once again, if you haven't already, rumors saying that it's filled up. I don't know about that, but why not shoot your shot still? Matt at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Send him an email. Say you want into the Nasty Bash, and we'll do our best to get you there. Let's do a little good, bad, and ugly from the weekend as it was. Of course, you can play along as well. 780-218-9999. Paris Jewelers inbox. Maybe that's how you get your hands on the $20 to A&W for text of the day. But good, bad, and ugly, I will be going my good. And get this, boys, Arena Football Championship. Did you see this? I know you were coaching hockey at them all over the weekend, but there's also an Arena Football Championship taking place at a mall in New Jersey. The American Dream Shopping Mall, in which the Billings Outlaws defeated the Albany Firebirds 46-41 in Arena Bowl 33. Now, there's an Elks joke in here somewhere. Okay? If they continue, maybe they move to the mall and, the people going and whatever. But, and former CFL quarterback Isaac Harker, former Lion Rough Rider, taking home the MVP honors. So, Arena Bowl 33 held in a mall, American Dream Shopping Mall in New Jersey. And what a shootout was. Albany, 46-41. Losing to Billings, the Outlaws over the Firebirds. You're good from the weekend, Joaquin Gage.
Gosh, the good. I think. I have to go to the F1 race. Oscar Piastri winning his first Grand Prix.
And for a hardcore like you, that race with everything going on, that's what you want, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, seeing a team emerge with two superstars, I think is great. Especially, I mean, if any fan of racing, whether it was from Drive to Survive or not, the peaks and valleys of McLaren, and seeing Lando Norris just completely defeated basically after every single race, to see them come to the forefront again, the history of McLaren, pretty cool. And Zach Brown, man, the guy, I didn't know this, and I told you this, how he got started in F1. He won Wheel of Fortune as a kid.
The video's out there, isn't it?
Yeah, and he got all this money and started putting it all into his own racing, and somehow, I mean, this guy is the ultimate salesman. If you've watched any of the last year of drives, he was this close to being gone, I think.
Is that wheelie bag?
It's that wheelie bag.
It's that wheelie bag that did him in.
He's carrying his own gear to the games now. Good job, Zach.
Tim Hauraney had a sit-down with him a few days ago, and it was with like an audience behind, so we'll have to ask Tim on that conversation how it went with old Zach Brown there. But, yeah, I mean, for all the talk about F1, it's boring, we know who's going to win. I mean, that's a race where you can say, no, that's your counterpoint, right?
It's completely gone.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, 200 podiums, I believe, or something like that. That's crazy.
Before we get into the bad, Trev, a conch here. Good morning, gentlemen. Can I get a conch? For my last week in Edmonton, I'm moving to the Yukon on Saturday to begin my journey as a stay-at-home dad to my 1-year-old that comes in from the People's Eyebrow. Yeah, and the good thing for you, People's Eyebrow, is that you don't need to worry about getting our dial up there, as you can listen to us comfortably all day, every day from the Yukon, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, streaming, as we've heard this morning, from Teacher Arlo, Osaka, Japan, but up in the Yukon as well, iHeart, TuneIn Radio app, and YouTube. So we continue to look forward to the People's Eyebrows' continued listenership here on the station. The bad from the weekend, I'm going Riverhawks, dropping 2 of 3 from Springfield. The Drifters aren't exactly on the good half of teams in the West Coast League right now, so you were looking at that. The Riverhawks returning home. They were supposed to host Springfield to kick off a 9-game homestand. You're thinking the team is playing really good, and then that smoke came in. The whole IT outage on Friday affected Springfield's travel up here, so Trev's date got, it's bad for you as well. They screwed up date night.
Yeah, like, you can only try, I don't know, like near the end of it was almost, game time, but I'm like, what else is there? Like, what kind of shoes do you like? It was getting to that point. So, but once the ball game actually started, it was nice because you could just commentate on what's going on here. But yeah, like the 2-hour delay there, that definitely wasn't ideal. We got through it though.
It's rough. You got through it. The Riverhawks got through it. They played a doubleheader last night, to which they just kind of announced, hey, we can do this. The smoke cleared. We're doing it. I know a few texters said that they were down there last night, so good on you for supporting the team. But dropping 2 of 3 to a team that you would say, when the Riverhawks are in a position they're at, you'd like to say at least taking 2 of 3 instead of dropping 2 of 3. But they get 1. Hawks remain at home. The 9-game homestand continues tonight, Game 4, as they'll be hosting Nanaimo from Remax. And it's a game we'll have for you here on Edmonton Sports Talk as well. Coverage getting underway just after 7 o'clock. And I just want to pull up the quick standings in the West Coast League. Riverhawks right now 3 games back of top spot. They're in a tie with Bellingham right now, 4-6 in their last 10. So Riverhawks look to turn it around here for the final 6 games of this 9-game homestand. Your bad from the weekend?
My bad from the weekend is I don't know if they're a sponsor of the show or not, but and when someone talks about something and you have a picture of in your mind of what it's going to be like. I went after my loss. I tweeted out the picture first round for some silky suds, but I needed more relaxation, so I hit the water massage tables at the mall. And I've been hearing for years of Dusty going to this thing.
Swears by him.
And just says it's and I'm sorry, Dusty. It's like your LeBron take. That thing was weird. It was terrible.
Wow. Terrible.
It wasn't. It was just my view of it was so inflated with Dusty saying how great these things were, and I mean, even I think he went there on his the
anniversary the other day, yeah,
couples massage. Yeah. But I mean, you should do it just to know. Maybe that's your jam. But I mean, I had my massage therapist Gerhard in Germany.
I thought it was Gerhard at the mall.
No,
the guy running the thing.
He looked like Gerhard.
Okay.
And Gerhard, after a hard practice, Gerhard, ich bezahle Massage mit ein schöner Ende bitte all the time. After
sure.
And if you know, it's a Gerhard. Can I get a massage with a happy ending? That's what usually the Germans would get a kick out of that. But yeah, that was my bad, Eric. I went to that thing. You might as well just go to Bed Bath & Beyond and sit in one of those massage chairs. It's the same exact thing.
For a cut of the price,
yeah,
eh?
No,
I'll just test this out here.
Yeah, no, just go sit in there, and it's way cheaper. But obviously, Dusty just doesn't like the strong hands of a man touching him.
Well, Sunday afternoon in the middle of the mall, when everybody's trying to beat the heat, walking around you, I can't imagine that's a relaxating type of feel. I'd be more. He almost had a panic attack down in Vegas for crying out loud. He was a little hungover. Because you're pretty trapped. There's no way out, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't want to say anything or whatever. And he goes, "Hey, you want some music?" And I like, "Sure." And I thought I would
Aerosmith.
I thought I would have some soothing sounds, maybe a Japanese flute. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Zamfir, maybe.
No, I was rocking out to Fleetwood Mac in there. It was just not. It was not.
Strange.
It was not relaxing.
Now, were you on front or back? Did they flip you?
I was
Do you
face
choose?
down.
Okay,
face
that's
down.
how it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, Dusty. I hate to do this, but it's your show. But you're not here.
I have no lust for one of those. Have you been in one before? The tube, Trev?
No, I had no idea about it. When Dusty, I saw one. Well, I guess it was during December, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to the water, whatever it's called." And I asked him, so you put on do they strip you down? Do you have to put on swim trunks before you go in? And he's like, no, it's not the water, it's not all over your face. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that, but it's definitely something that I get claustrophobic, so I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
Close spaces, but never have given it a thought.
Have you ever had an actual massage, Trev?
No.
No?
Oh,
No.
You've had a massage.
love them. I love them.
Yeah.
There's certain points, especially legs and the walking, you'll touch it, and then I get my saliva, you get it's a release.
Yeah.
You got to get a massage.
You gotta get
and we're
a
talking
massage.
legit here, an actual good.
Probably go downstairs.
Oh yeah, that's the place.
Oh, they
to
got
go.
the Willow Branch and that type of thing, old
But
style.
If you were to measure the experience of that and an actual massage therapist doing it, there's no comparison. It's LeBron and MJ. There's no
Yeah.
comparison with it. It's completely night and day with it. You get someone actually, and they find your spots. They work through it, and it a little bit of pain isn't a bad thing.
It takes the pain sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's amazing how they can find the spot and then trace it, and then it's not just about rubbing it out, but they have to move it.
God, I'm never
down the body, and
I'm never gonna be on this show again.
well, just the audio. The people listening to the audio today with your voice and everything and talking about it. I mean, it's just
maybe it'll smooth it over.
yeah. But let's get Trevor a massage. Tube socks as well. I've never had a massage. I saw Jason Milne getting a pedicure over the weekend as well with his family and his lovely wife and kids. I mean, treat yourself. It's a rough world out there. Take some time to treat yourself, and does the body good. The ugly from the weekend. It's the Elks for me and Boris Beatty, 4 of 7. I mean, you went off the flub that you had at home a Sunday ago, where you tried to do the kick that never happened. Now the defense had to hold there to make sure Ottawa didn't get in field goal range, but Beatty flubbing that, having some jokes on the sideline after the game. Then he goes 4 of 7 in Ottawa in a tight game to which the defense showed up. It is ugly right now, but 0-6. Why not hand it off to Trey Ford? Why not make some? I know there's some reports of G. Roy Simon wanting to tinker with this roster moving forward. There were some tinkerings as well done over the weekend with the release of a handful of players. So, look, right now, whatever. Just they're in games. They're not getting roasted. But I don't know what's worse, getting roasted or losing in these fashions where your kicker, if he simply makes a couple more field goals, you're in the win column.
Yeah.
And then all of this crap that we're talking about kind of goes to the wayside. It's not. Your defense showed up. Offense didn't. Complaining about the short week. It's an ugly situation right now.
Yeah, it's gone from bad to ugly with that. But,
Yes.
My ugly. I was thinking about this a lot. I knew you'd probably do the low hanging fruit there, but it has to be USA basketball against Serbia. Just looking terrible and almost losing that thing. So
Well, these preseason or pre-Olympic tune-ups, we read everything into them when you win, but when you it's not. Yeah, they're just whatever.
they're not spring chickens, these guys. And from Paul Sir talking about international ball, it's a different game. It's a lot more physical.
Yep.
Then there's good teams, and this is I think that's going to be the most intriguing thing to me is watching some of the Olympic basketball.
Well, I think it's funny too is there was this video online too on Twitter over the weekend of some of the U.S. team in the train. And nobody recognized. You're out of the NBA kind of
Which is great.
cocoon, which is good.
I think they'd love that.
And it's a global sport.
Yeah.
But I mean, to the point, like the big bad USA. Well, now the games are on European soil. We all know about the success of European basketball for certain countries. It's nice to see them knock down a notch or two in terms of like a humbleness prior to the games going on.
I mean, there's always international basketball has always been quite good. Like there's really good players, good teams. Those guys have the advantage of playing together, on a regular basis for a long time. I think it's kind of like there's certain moments in sports where the rest of the world goes, we want to be part of that too. And I look at the original Dream Team. When they went, the Christian Leitner led Dream Team, that kind of changed the way other teams played, other countries, and there's so many good players come from somewhere other than the United States now, which makes it more global, a sport which I love. And it's just not one team dominating for a 2-week period.
And in different styles of play as well. Like the sport,
I mean, watching an NBA game when watching an international game, completely different and very, very enjoyable.
Yeah. Also, and just touching on, that was your good, bad, and ugly from the weekend. I wanted to get into this too. We mentioned the EST draft going down later this week, Thursday, I do believe, and film movie props. The hat worn by Harrison Ford at Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom put up for auction. Famous hat is expected to sell for $550,000 at a 4-day auction in Los Angeles next month. Does this at all change your rankings in terms of movie props? I think a lot of us consensus would say the lightsaber. That was kind of the theme going around heading into the weekend. But, I mean, Temple of Doom hat, the whip, anything like that from Indiana Jones, kind of, that's a nice sum of coin there, $550,000.
That's not bad at all. I thought Harrison Ford would have that in the vault at home. Maybe just as the whip for him and Ally McBeal at times, but
This is like athletes parting with that championship ring. Maybe you need a little, whenever those go on the block, you're like, I wonder what's going on there. But
no, I mean, that's pretty iconic. I mean, if you're going
bigger than the whip, when it comes to Indy, what is the one thing from Indiana Jones? Because you got the whip, you got the hat, you got the thing that he aspires to grab, whatever it is.
I mean, I think just Harrison Ford's had some bangers, but I'd love a category in there with soundtracks, right? Because that adds to.
I love a good score.
Yeah. Yep. I think you still got to go lightsaber, but if you're picking second, Indiana Jones's whip.
Indy's got a lot of pop culture,
but
everybody
it's so
knows
iconic when he puts the hat on.
When any of us, you put one of those, Indiana Jones, that's where the mind goes immediately. So
it's
maybe
it's the hat. As soon as you see that hat is so he loses it, he gets it back, it rolls to him, all that stuff.
Simpsons even did it on the thing. Yeah. It's got some cachet. But Dusty will be back tomorrow. We'll get the wheels spun. We'll determine draft order throughout the week, and we'll really hammer down hard on those categories. I'm looking forward to this one. There's more than enough to chew on from the film and movie prop draft, so we'll bite into that as the week rolls on. 6:57. Let's hit a sports update now. We'll be coming back with Tim Hauraney. He is our racing analyst, co-host of Nailing the Apex pod as well. He'll have all we need to know following Formula One's Hungarian Grand Prix. And, of course, the Toronto Indy as well going on this weekend. Big day, big weekend for Andretti Global as they go 1-2 in qualifying and both 1-2 on the podium as Colton Herta picks up his first win in nearly 2 years. So we'll get Tim's thoughts on that. He was there watching it all go down. And, of course, the full breakdown from the Hungaroring as Piastri P1 wins in the grimace of Lando Norris. So we'll have more on that coming up just after the top of the hour. It is the Nielsen Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Lieutenant Eric, Joaquin Gage, and YouTube Trev behind the monitors. If you want to come hard after that A&W today, $20 on the line to A&W for text of the day, 780-218-9999. That is the Paris Jewelers inbox, and we are coming to you live from the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studios. The Nielsen Show for South Fort Chev. Hour number 2 on the way next. A sports update first for Green Plan. Week 7 in the Canadian Football League wrapping up last night. Dustin Nielson had the call on TSN as the Stampeders remain perfect at home with a 25-24 win over the Lions. Elks, meanwhile, they fell to 0-6 Friday with a 2014 loss in Ottawa. Week 8 will kick off Thursday for Montreal when the Alouettes host the Riders. Elks are back home to host the Ticats Sunday afternoon. The club announcing running back Justin Rankin was added to the practice roster, while they also released 4 players. Xander Schauffele with his second major victory of the year as he takes the Open Championship, giving the Americans a sweep of the 4 majors for the first time since 1982. Heat and smoke made it difficult to get the games in, but a doubleheader last night saw the Riverhawks drop 2 of 3 over the weekend to the Springfield Drifters. The Hawks' 9-game homestand continues tonight when they welcome in Nanaimo. It's a game we'll have for you here on Edmonton Sports Talk, coverage getting underway shortly after 7. Edmonton 3 games back of division-leading Wenatchee entering play. Prospects shut out 9-0 out in Sylvan Lake by the Gulls. The Prospects remain on the road. They'll visit Fort McMurray tomorrow night. Jays avoiding the series sweep yesterday with a 5-4 victory over Detroit. Jays remain at home. They'll host the Rays for 3 starting tomorrow as MLB's trade deadline will fall next Tuesday. Canada's national men's basketball team wrapping up pre-Olympic play with a 103-93 exhibition win over Puerto Rico. Canadians open the Olympic basketball competition Saturday against 14th-ranked Greece. Along with Greece, Canada in Group A, the tournament's so-called Group of Death, with number 2 Spain and number 5 Australia. Sports update brought to you by Green Plan, providing you with award-winning environmental planning and consulting service, whether it's municipal, industrial, or residential. Plan it right with Green Plan. Visit green-plan.com or give them a call, 780-455-4292.
The Nielsen Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Oh, okay. Hey, all right. Nielsen Show back with you, 7:01 here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. YouTube Trev behind the monitors, manning the music today, and Lieutenant Eric and Joaquin Gage in for Dustin Nielson as well. Nielsen Show presented by Southfort Chevrolet. Check them out today, www.southfortchev.com. Fort Saskatchewan, go see Daniel and the team. 15% off accessories for your new ride during the month of July. 10109 89th Avenue in Fort Saskatchewan. Want to let you know as well, just ahead of Tim Hauraney here, our racing analyst, he'll be by in a matter of minutes. Feast on the Field, just want to get you more information on that. Capital Care Foundation hosting Feast on the Field and Charity Golf Classic with special guest MC Luke Gazdick. You know him joining us Thursdays during the hockey season. One lucky foursome will get to spend the day golfing Red Tail Landing with Luke. Capital Care Foundation believes everyone deserves to live with dignity. They do this by providing positive mental awareness and a home-like atmosphere. They do this with funds from events like Feast on the Field and Charity Golf Classic. The dates, August 14 and 15. Feast on the Field at Commonwealth. Charity Golf Classic presented by Gilead is at Red Tail Landing. For more, visit www.capitalcarefoundation.net. So once again, visit that website. One lucky foursome will get to spend the day golfing Red Tail Landing with Luke. That's for Feast on the Field. Tim Hauraney, once again, racing analyst, scheduled to join us in a matter of minutes, previewing or recapping the Hungarian Grand Prix and the Toronto Indy that went down over the weekend. Your text, 780-218-9999. What was the deal with Norris having gave up the lead to Piastri for McLaren in F1? Great question, Rick in the Donut. And Timmy will be by to explain it. He'll be joining us as he was doing a great job. That's what I find, why don't they just win the race? Well, there's a lot of strategy involved in the teams and all that dynamic with it. It's more than just going out there and racing and finishing first to last.
That's the one thing you learn right away. It's not just go fast. But Lando said it in his press junket meetings afterwards. Obviously upset about how he had to give up the spot, but then he did mention of the things that Oscar had done for him up to this point too, right? This is about a team that you have to be a little bit. You don't get to that level without being a little bit selfish. No, there's not a professional athlete on the planet that's not a little bit selfish. But I think just the whole realization of being a team and how that dynamic works. That's the thing that fascinated me most about F1. How do these guys compete all the time? And there's that internal battle, plus you're battling other guys in the field. And Lando didn't like it, but it seems like he understood why he had to do it, just because Piastri at certain points have held other guys back, and made it difficult for them to pass. Those Ministry of Defense type moments that we saw with famously with Checo back in Abu Dhabi years ago.
Yeah, and Checo not having a good time either as of late. Hey? I mean, that's starting to slowly unwind.
Well, that's another thing I'd love to talk about, Tim, probably it would take hours, but just how that Red Bull seat. I mean, Yuki Tsunoda's been awesome. He had a rough kind of go, but still finishes with some points again, ahead of his teammate.
Yeah.
How is he not the heir apparent to that seat?
It's so funny too with this sport in terms of like in hockey. I mean, I'm talking about the top four in North America here. You play on a team. There are individual successes, stats wise, MVPs, all that stuff that you aspire to as an individual. Yeah. Albeit that doesn't achieved either without team success most of the time. But with this, there's two separate sports almost within one. Your individual racing, but then that of your team and the constructors and everything else that you have to kind of. So the balancing act is quite interesting and fun to watch. Just the strategy as it all plays out.
That's where the money is too.
Situations,
with the constructors, right? So.
You all succeed as a group.
Yeah,
but. How much do you bet on yourself? I guess I don't know. That's a weird one. But Tim will be joining us here in a couple of seconds. 780-218-9999 is the number to text. Joel says 500 likes and Gager will pay for a massage for YTT. That's the next guest host monetary bet here for young YouTube Trev. Maybe that's a thing. But hit the like if you are watching on YouTube this morning, and don't forget to sub as well, so you're all up to date with anything and everything going on Edmonton Sports Talk. But it looks like he's good to go, and we appreciate his time. Once again, the busiest man when it comes to racing around this nation, Tim Hauraney, Hauraney joins us now, a racing analyst. You know him well, doing his work for TSN, co-host as well of Nailing the Apex Pod. And Tim, once again, appreciate your time over a busy weekend for you, man, setting all these things up and knocking them back down again. Let's dive into the event that you were there in person for, Toronto Indy. We spoke with you last week. Of course, the flooding providing a bit of discussion surrounding the track, but it seemed to me that everything turned out good there. But Colton Herta, first win in NTT IndyCar in 2 years, 41 races. A big day for him and Andretti Global as they do well in qualifying and on the podium. But your thoughts on a pretty successful, I would say, Toronto Indy?
Yeah, I would say so. It was packed in there, guys. I mean, I think over the last 3 years that they've held the race, it keeps getting busier and busier, which is great to see, and it's great for IndyCar, obviously. But I remember, racing in that particular race back when it was like the Molson Indy, and you would get about 80 to almost 100,000 fans there for the race, and now we went through a really big struggle with it. There wasn't it really started to die off. The sport was in a lot of trouble, and it's really started to gain its momentum back, and so is IndyCar, I should say. It's really started to gain its momentum back as well. The place was packed. Met a lot of great fans. Had some really great conversations with folks. So yeah, no, I had a great time. It's one of the races I look forward to the most on the motorsports calendar for sure.
Well, let's get into the real red meat here, and I mean it was all Hungary for me. Nothing against the IndyCar series or Toronto, but I mean, I don't know where you want to start. And I was watching you on TSN trying to break this thing down to the general viewer, right? Kind of the out there. And we've already gotten some texts this morning as well from a few, why is he letting him pass? Why? So if you please, Tim, try to break it down here. Why is Piastri winning the race when Lando was leading? And then we'll get to all the other stuff kind of trickling through that interesting weekend in Hungary.
Trying to think about where's my jumping off point for this one. I mean, obviously Piastri gets the lead of the race off the start. One of the things for McLaren as a team is the fact that they tried to be fair with their drivers when it comes to the racing. So if one driver has the lead of a race and for some reason they either, have to give it up, or one of the drivers in the lead has to give it up. I mean, it's team orders. They're doing things for the team. Now, when it comes down to the personal relationship between both drivers, that's a pretty critical thing. I mean, you could hear Lando's team engineer on the radio telling him that, look, I'm trying to protect you here. What he's basically saying is he's trying to protect him inside the team, because if he's not willing to be a team player, McLaren can be fairly ruthless with their drivers, and they could discard him at another time. They could not prioritize him anymore. So a big part of it is playing the team game, and that's what McLaren is really known for. And look, I mean, I think it all starts with them prioritizing Norris in the pit stops. I mean, that's where your problem is. You should do like every other team does, which is prioritize your lead driver. Whoever is in the lead, whoever is out in front, they get priority because they earned it. So that's where they're going to need to have quite a few discussions internally about that. And on the other side of that, it's good for Lando to give the position up, because at a later date, he's going to need Oscar. He will. I mean, Piastri is, again, he's one of these rising stars, superstar talent in Formula One. And at some point, either this season, maybe even next year, because they will be in contention for championships, he's going to need him. He's going to need him to hold off drivers. He's going to need him to sacrifice positions. And if Lando breaks the trust between the two of them, then Lando will be in trouble at another point later on in his career, with the two of them still being teammates. So, guys, that's it's essentially some of the dynamics of racing and behind the scenes that they have to really really focus on and make sure that they preserve the relationships that are within the team.
So, Tim, was it a mistake by McLaren that just strategy-wise to pit Lando first? Was that you heard Coulthard talking about it, that they've made problems themselves. They could have reversed it. Like this whole situation could have been handled a lot better with better strategizing. And seeing McLaren and their advancement, and they're now battling for races. How do you grade their overall strategy for races? Because I think there's points where there's some decisions. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20 with these things, but it seems like it's somewhat new territory for them to have race strategy where they possibly win with some good decisions. How do you see that evolving over the last few races now that McLaren, steadily could win a race?
Yeah, no, it's I think it's the question that we're all asking. I mean, again, when it comes to McLaren and strategy, this is another race weekend where that's really brought a lot of their strategy department into question, and why they've made changes and done things that are very questionable. I mean, British Grand Prix, they just threw away a win there. I mean, with strategy, and there's been others this season as well. I don't know why they decided to prioritize Lando. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you boil it all down. I think for Lando, he's thinking championship. He's thinking drivers' championship. He thinks that he can win this drivers' championship. And you know what? I tend to agree with him in that respect, considering the direction that Red Bull is going in, and I'm sure we'll talk about Max later, but the direction that he's going in psychologically. So I think for Lando, it's him trying to really push to chase down Verstappen in the driver's standings. He even mentioned it at the post-race press conference. It's he believes that he can catch Max. And so by giving up, 6-7 points, whatever it was, by turning over the lead to Oscar, is that going to affect him later on in the season? I mean, it could, guys. I mean, that could be what the difference is at the end of the season when we get to Abu Dhabi. That's how tight a lot of us think this thing's going to be later on this season.
Racing analyst Tim Hauraney joining us, racing analyst and insider here. Tim, I just wanted your thoughts too. You mentioned Red Bull and Verstappen. Tough day on the radio, tough day on the track, getting tangled up with Hamilton there. What are your thoughts on Red Bull right now? Of course, again, as Gage mentioned, now McLaren, and we can see this car, and you're no longer just the fastest guy on the track, fastest machine on the track, and all that. So cracks, but survivable cracks here, or kind of where are we at? I was talking to Joaquin earlier, and I was thinking maybe Hungary is one of those races you look back on and say, this is where it starts to turn and curdle a bit. But are we there, or how close are we?
No, that's a great point that you make, because I think we're getting to that point. Like, they brought another round of fairly sizable upgrades to this car, and so far this season, guys, every upgrade that they've brought that was significant hasn't delivered the performance that they've been wanting. And as you look at the rest of the calendar, not many tracks are really going to suit Red Bull Racing, moving forward. Maybe, Spa, probably the next one up, but the Dutch Grand Prix, I mean, I doubt it. Same goes with Monza in September. I doubt it. So when you take a look at the direction that they're going in, and then you take a look at the infighting that they've had at the team at the beginning of the season, and probably sounds like it's still kind of going on by things that we had heard a few races ago in Austria. And then you take a look at Verstappen, and I guess his attitude across the radio, I mean, that's frustration for sure, and that's understandable. I get that, and it's fine that he airs, his frustrations. I think that it's definitely a sign that he is getting frustrated with where this car is. I think he knows that they aren't the fastest car anymore. They still have a really solid team, but not the best car. And then you take a look at, his move at Hungary. Yeah, and I can't believe he didn't get penalized for that, which I really think he should have gotten.
Oh yeah, let's
Right?
break that down, Tim.
Yeah.
Let's. I'd love to hear what your analysis of, and maybe you can just get into maybe some people that don't know what kind of are the written rules, the unwritten rules of going into a corner.
Well, you can't move in the braking zone. I mean, we saw a lot of that with Lando and Max back in Austria. That was a big talking point there, and one of the reasons why the two of them collided. When it came to this move, I mean, both of them are getting by lap traffic, right? And I think for, Lewis obviously getting that advantage of the slipstream and being able to get into the braking zone, he's a little closer to the racing line as well. And he's already committed to the apex. And then Verstappen, I mean, just when you have a 4-tire lockup, like when you have a massive lockup like that, and there's just no way you're making the corner. Like there was no way. Like even if Lewis wasn't there, he wasn't making the corner.
Yeah.
Like he would have went off doesn't matter. He would have went off the track. So at that moment right there, like that to me is a dive bomb. And you can't do that either. And the fact that I think Verstappen's argument was that Lewis was moving in the braking zone, but Lewis was already committed to the corner, which means his braking, he's already started to bleed off brakes. So that doesn't really add up for me. And again, he makes contact with Lewis. Like it's just plain and simple. He's the one who makes contact with Lewis. So that's that is a flat out, in my opinion, that's a flat out penalty. Like,
Well, we're glad we got your blessing on that because we were just thinking, like, what is he supposed to do? And again, there's rules and rules and rules, but when you're going in, and as you mentioned, regardless if Lewis is there or not, it's a fruitless venture. Then it just how do you not get a bit of a slapping for that? But
yeah, and then even like I can see it from Max's point of view as well. Maybe not from the standpoint of what Lewis is doing, but the standpoint of like you're as a driver. Max is trying to make a move, but at the same time, you're so far offline that like, even if you were trying to play chicken in the braking zone, like you were never going to win that because you're offline. There's this dirt, there's no grip. No one drives over there. So that means it's just, you needed to be on the racing line or close to it to have a good shot at trying to outbrake somebody into a corner. And I get also the closing speed because you're getting sort of like a double sort of slipstream there. You're getting one from the lap traffic, and then you're getting a little bit more from Lewis, who's in front of you as well. But I think as a driver, you have to be smart in that situation and be like, there's no way I'm going to make this corner. Give it another lap and I'll get him. I'll try it again. And that's sort of, that would have been my mentality, because you're really putting yourself in a very, very difficult position. And you're also putting yourself in a position where you're the championship leader. And if you were to have a fairly sizable accident with another driver and not being able to finish the race, I mean, you just threw away like a ton of points in the Drivers' Championship.
yeah, our listener on YouTube chat, Wheels, a regular, but he says the young and the Red Bull. And then also we have this one text from somebody, Max hates the upgrades, and sometimes it semes like he wants to crash the car on purpose to get a new one. I don't know if you have thoughts on that one, Tim, but
I don't know. I don't know about that one, guys.
like sand through the hourglass, this Red Bull team. Fun to watch both on and off the track. I wanted to get to this, Tim, as well. You had a bit of a preview. You had a sit down with Zach Brown, and Joaquin and I were talking prior to the show, and you were expressing your just interest on the individual, how he got started in racing. Of course, you're probably familiar with the Wheel of Fortune tapes. But
we talked about that.
Oh, no way.
well, I was going to say, without giving away too much, where can people find this? When will it drop? And how was it kind of going one-on-one with an audience behind you as well?
Okay, so like I've interviewed Zach like many times. Like I've known him for quite a long time. Zach obviously used to race, and he's really great when it comes to like sit down interviews. If you know him, like he's really great that way, and he's great with his time too. And that's something I definitely appreciate, because he was a very busy man at the Honda Indy or at the IndyCar race in Toronto over the weekend, very busy. And so when you get the opportunity to sit down with him, I wasn't like nervous about it because I've done it like a lot of times, and we know each other. So the crowd was new, though. That was something new for me. I didn't expect that. I mean, I was like helping our camera operator. He was telling me what to do. I was trying to help him set up mics, trying not to get in his way. And Zach was coming over. I was talking with Gavin Ward, the team principal for McLaren, and we were just, shooting the breeze. And Zach came over, and the three of us were chatting. And all of a sudden, the camera operator was like, "Okay, we're good to go." And I kind of turned around, and I was like, "Oh, where did all those people go?" And it was a line, guys. It was like, I want to say there was well over like 100 people there. Had well over 100 people. Like, they were stacked 5 deep. That photo doesn't do it justice. Trackside Online, nice enough to take that photo and send it to me. Yeah, and then you kind of just got to sit down and be like, okay, there's a massive crowd behind you, and I'm sure like whoever's closest to me can hear what our interview is about.
Yeah.
So, so there's that as well, and you just kind of got to block it out, right? It's kind of just focus on talking to Zach and talking some racing, and having some fun. But yeah, it was a cool moment.
I'd like to know, Tim, about, you can always see when there's teams start struggling. Well, Red Bull's struggling a little bit. Christian Horner starts complaining about the other cars, pointing out, is McLaren cheating? Now that Zach Brown is in that situation, how does that whole relationship between team principals? How do you think Zach Brown's going to deal with like the Christian Horner complaining about the McLaren car, probably putting some more eyes on that? Is there? And I mean, he's great with some of his comebacks and what he says. Is he? It seems like he's the kind of guy that enjoys this. Like he's. It's hard pressed to see this guy without a smile on his face.
Yeah, I mean, look, these guys are competitors, right? And even though they're not driving the cars, they're running the teams, and they're going to be competitive with their teams. They're going to fight for their teams and what they want, what they don't want. Red Bull Racing sometimes with their tactics, you can see they go on the defensive and start, pointing fingers sometimes. And I think Christian Horner's really good at getting in other team principals, headspaces. I mean, if you go back to 2021 with the, Christian and Toto, that's what Christian does. He does it, and he does it really well. The thing with Zach is that Zach knows how to sort of fight back in that space, and he's very good at it too. And it's kind of like you're going up against sort of the wrong sort of guy in that department, and it's fun to watch. I mean, Zach. I think I would say Zach came out firing first, like quite a few races ago. It was they know what they're doing, right, guys? They know what they're doing. They're going to do their thing, and they're going to fight for their teams. It's great for us, obviously, so we get to talk about it, and we probably get some great sound bites from it. But yeah, for them, it's not like they hate each other. It's the fact that look, they're competitors, right? And they're gonna go at each other.
Last one, Kimi Antonelli looks. Is he the fast track for that second Mercedes seat?
Yeah, I don't. It's it's a great question. I think all of us are wondering the same thing. It's hard to say. Toto still sounds like he's on the fence with what he wants to do with that second seat, and it doesn't sound like he's made a decision at all on it. And he may be giving, Kimi as much time as he needs to develop, which is probably the right thing to do. I remember he was talking to me about, when was it? I think it was the British Grand Prix. He was talking to me about it, but essentially he's just basically saying, look, he's a 17-year-old, and he's like, when was the last time you remember you were do you ever remember being mature when you were 17 years old? And I was like, nope. It's like, well, it's kind of like there's a bit of that. There's a bit of like, can he handle the world of Formula One? Because he has all these eyes on him now. We're talking about him right now. We're talking about a 17-year-old who's in Formula 2, right? And so there's that aspect of it. There's the aspect of it, does he have enough experience? I mean, it's hard to say, right? Karts, Formula Regional, Formula 2. That's a huge progression in just a short amount of time. I think if they keep developing him in the F1 program, and I think that's where they're going to be making their decision based off of the F1 testing program that they've set up for him that's been taking place throughout this season. That's where they're going to make their decision on whether or not that he's ready. They think he's ready to go, because I mean, they can't base it off of what happens in Formula 2, because I don't think any team principal is really looking at Formula 2 this season because of how bad, these cars have been. Like the teams have really struggled with figuring the F2 car out. It's brand new for this season, for those who don't know. And a lot of team principals in Formula 2 are really struggling to come to grips with how to best get the consistent performance out of these cars. I mean, Prema is a team that Kimi races on with Ollie Behrman. And Ollie Behrman, obviously, is a very good driver. And, he's out-qualified him. They've out-qualified each other. But the performance from the car itself, I mean, Prema is a strong team, and they're really good at figuring cars out. And even they're having trouble figuring this F2 car out. So it's not necessarily something that Mercedes will base their decision off of the F2 championship. It'll be more based off of their F1 testing program that they put together for Kimi.
There you have it, Tim. We'll you don't know this, but every time you are on the show, we have about 100 people that show up and watch from the other room. So we'll send them home right now, and we'll send you as well on your way. Appreciate the time, as always, on a busy weekend, and enjoy Spa as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you having me. Have a great day.
Love it. There it is. Racing analyst and insider Tim Hauraney. You can follow him at Tim Hauraney, Hauraney. Also co-host of Nailing the Apex Pod. That's where you can find that sit-down with Zach Brown that will be released sometime, I do believe, in August, but we appreciate Tim's time. What are you pulling out of that one? I mean, he answered all of your... are you satisfied? Hey?
Yeah, no, because the Kimi Antonelli... he's essentially the heir apparent.
17
years old. It's crazy. And what I gather, him and Ollie Behrman, like Tim said, are at the top, but there was I remember looking up, and as my deep dive into F1, into the some of the information, Toto said way back when there was a chance to get Max Verstappen. Like way back when.
Yep.
And he went with a more experienced driver in that second seat and said, you know what? It's it leaves the cupboards dry when I let go of talent like that. So he's not, I won't say concerned, but he knows that he has something here, and possibly someone that could be the next great driver. You don't know yet, being 17, and Tim laid out in Formula 2 how you can't really take it at
and that
face
career
value.
can go different paths depending on your team and dynamic and where you are.
Exactly, exactly. That's what happened. Like Max goes to Red Bull, right? So I think he's leaning more towards an older established guy and a younger guy, just because just how everything went before with Lewis, Bottas. That's. I think we'll see. I think we'll see Kimi in that seat.
This is one of those times where you pop into Wayne's sports carts and say, hey, you got any of the new F1? And maybe have a play on one of these young guns, right? Like the guys from the future, and make a play on them early. But once again, we thank Tim for his time. We'll do a sports update. We'll be back with a Coolbet Canada hotline of the day. Mix and match. If you got any Oilers suggestions in terms of D pairings, lineups, looks for the bottom six, please get them in. We'd love to share them. 780-218-9999. And we'll touch on that a bit. And that's good for the Italian Center shop. We'll be going somewhere on the weekend where we thought, that's good. And we'll talk about that at around 7:40 for Italian Center shop. Gabe Lacques on the way in hour 3. Talk a little Major League Baseball ahead of the trade deadline, which falls in about 8 days or so. But a sports update here for the good people at Park Mazda. It's Lieutenant Eric Joaquin Gage, YouTube Trev, here on The Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Canadian Football League Week 7 wrapping up last night as the Stampeders remain perfect at home. They win the Wally Bowl 25-24 over the visiting BC Lions. The Elks, they dropped to 0-6 Friday with a 2014 loss out in Ottawa. Elks return home to host the Ticats Sunday afternoon. The club announced running back Justin Rankin was added to the practice roster, while the club also cut 4 more players. Week 8 will kick off Thursday from Montreal when the Alouettes host the Rough Riders. Xander Schauffele with his second major victory of the year. He takes the Open Championship, shooting a 6 under 65, giving the Americans a sweep of the 4 majors for the first time since 1982. On the diamond, the Jays avoid the series sweep with a 5-4 victory over the Tigers. Jays host the Rays for 3 starting tomorrow as MLB's trade deadline falls next Tuesday. Prospects shut out 9-0 down in Sylvan Lake by the Gulls. Prospects are back on the diamond tomorrow night up in Fort McMurray. And heat and smoke made it difficult to get the games in, but doubleheader last night saw the Riverhawks drop 2 of 3 over the weekend to the Springfield Drifters. The Hawks' 9-game homestand will continue tonight, scheduled to host Nanaimo. It's a game we'll have for you on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Coverage gets underway shortly after 7. Edmonton 3 games back of division-leading Wenatchee, entering play today. Over to the Olympics, where Canada's national men's basketball team wrapped up pre-Olympic play with a 103-93 exhibition win over Puerto Rico. Canada opens the Olympic basketball competition Saturday against 14th-ranked Greece. Along with Greece, Canada find themselves in Group A, the tournament's so-called Group of Death, alongside number 2 Spain and number 5 Australia. Sports Update brought to you by the great staff at Park Mazda, including dealer principal Mitch Lewicki, where he's eyeing a spot in Formula One in 2030.
If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as a figure skater. He wears like a white outfit and he does interpretive ice dances to my life's journey.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
With a baseball bat, a man with a tendency to overreact out of control. Oh, and so it goes. The kid with the promise, with the friends with the tats, hopped in a car now past the scalpel stat 6 feet below. Oh, and so it goes.
.33. You are tuned into the Nielson Show on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, the iHeart and TuneIn radio apps, streaming around the world, and of course on YouTube. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Edmonton Sports Talk doesn't cost you anything. Our pursuit of 10,000 subs continues as we eclipse the 9.51K marker over the weekend. Congrats to everybody involved. But if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's that little bell near the bottom of the page. And give us a thumbs up this morning as well. It helps with the algorithm, lets us know we're doing a good job and all that. We are changing 100 right now, sitting at 107. We can and will and must do better. The Nielson Show presented by Southfort Chevrolet each and every day. Check them out online, www.southfortchev.com. 15% off accessories for your new ride during the month of July. See them in Fort Saskatchewan, 10109 89th Avenue. Go see Daniel and the team. Tell them Dusty and EST sent you. As we'll get into a Coolbet Canada hotline of the day. Just taking a look at Formula One up at coolbet.com. Of course, our betting sponsors. And you can pretty much, they're going to have the EST draft odds, I'm sure, up a little later this week for our big draft on Thursday. But they do have some Formula One updates here in terms of who you want and who wins the constructor and such. And Verstappen right now in terms of individual racers getting the crown and the Constructors' Championship. So if you want to look up there and in terms of how the numbers have moved, please do so. Some NFL futures in terms of exhibition scheduling as well, I do think up there as well. And the Major League Baseball story, which we will look at today and later on tonight. Yankees, Rays, Tigers, Guardians, Mets, Marlins, all that good stuff up at coolbet.com. and Paris 2024, as you can get on some as well events there. They have the equestrian. We'll get to more Olympics talk kind of during 3 Questions Too Many, as I've been looking at the full list of Olympic sports, and we might go on to discuss our favorites, our least favorites, that type of thing. But if you want to get a little hot and horny on the Olympics right now and get ahead of that one, coolbet.com is where you can find it. Lay down some cents on, say, the breaststroke or the 100-meter freestyle or things such as that. Team jumping in the equestrian discipline. Coolbet.com is where you can find it. Get ahead of the Paris Games right now with our good friends up at Coolbet. Mix and match for Pro-Am Sports. Pro-Am Sports, you can check them out as well. Sales going on through the summer. If you need that Oilers jersey, a bit of a tune-up or a change or something along those lines, the Skinner number may be changing, anything like that. You need to change or get ready for the hockey season. Do it today at Pro-Am Sports. You can check them out at proamsports.ca. But Gager, do you have anything regarding the Oilers lines that you would like to see? A big change-up, a big something that, we wouldn't expect that coming in terms of the blue line, the forward group. I think the goaltending is fairly set, unless you got a big surprise there.
No,
as well.
no. The goaltending is set.
Yeah.
That's been set for basically the last since Campbell went to the minors.
You
right?
can even judge BB before that for some.
Yeah. So no, it's. I mean, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and I'm not. I think you should have kind of duos. I like the idea of duos on teams, and I think the top 2 duos. This is weird to say, but McDavid and Hyman are a duo. These guys play together in every situation, right? And doing that, I have Jeff Skinner on the left side starting the season. So. I think it just. I mean, he's brought in, kind of looking at that position, kind of like Connor Brown was last season.
Yep.
Right. He was kind of looked at to be there. I like seeing Draisaitl, Nuge, and Arvidsson together. That's kind of.
So you're just flipping the Skinner with Nuge type of thing on the left. Yeah.
And so that's. And I'm still. There's a question mark beside Arvidsson. I don't know if he fits into that grinding. Because he's just a buzzsaw. I've always referred to him as kind of a buzzsaw. So
hated seeing him when he was on the Kings.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You love to see him on your team, and now he is.
The question mark. There's still. It's tough to because this roster is going to look different. Eventually, it has to. The third line. How do you? I mean, Henrique, Janmark, Brown, so good, but. Maybe it's a line that works better in those 7-game series. I still want to.
That line was good during those. I mean, we had a season that we never really.
Yeah, and that was so. Them having played together prior, I think, is great. And again, hitting the ground running, getting that chemistry. The familiarity of playing with certain players is going to be beneficial to hopefully not have the start that the Edmonton Oilers did like last season.
So Holloway in your bottom 6.
Holloway, but I have him at center.
Okay. Got time for this now.
I think just with his success, I think you can start to look at Holloway playing his at the center position.
And you're not locking him in necessarily.
No.
This is one of those things where now you see options on this roster. Why not give it a?
But see, then I have Perry and Kane on the sides there. So that veteran kind of guys that have been there before.
Kane enters the fray. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that's what I have for my forward lines there. The D, it's very difficult. Obviously, you don't mess with what works. You can't move Bush and Ekholm. Like Bouchard's going, I think, was it 5th in Norris Trophy voting? So
nobody's getting offer sheeted. This is not. I know you and Dusty were talking about that a bit last week. The thoughts on that, but I mean, that's Flames fans can dream all they want and online.
Yeah, and I looking at a second D pairing, and this is very crystal ballish looking into the future. But Darnell Nurse and Stetcher, just both guys playing their own sides. Stetcher being a mobile defenseman who. I mean, I didn't get a real good look at him. I was there live for one game, watch him. Seemed like he could move the puck quite good, efficiently.
Yeah, maybe
that'll allow Darnell not to think he can play Darnell Nurse's game. And
that's what we talk about him keeping it simple.
And unfortunately, it's almost like when Darnell Nurse has a good game, you don't even realize he played at times. But that's fine.
That's a good cornerback in football. That's what you want, invisible.
Yeah, and maybe some flashes of brilliance. I don't mind that.
Yeah, a heroic play here or there.
Yeah, but just two guys that are quite mobile, and maybe can allow Darnell to really settle into that anchor on that side.
The Stetcher edition wouldn't that be something? Hey, one of the final gifts from Ken Holland, and finally it's that plant that takes a while to germinate in the spruce.
Imagine if he's like rocking 18 to 20 minutes.
Nothing spectacular, but it's just if you're in there, okay.
That's great.
I mean, as you said, we didn't see any of him. You had to have the ankle thing, and
And I have Broberg there, but he's playing with a question mark because something has to give there. Could be CC, could be something else. Who knows? But Broberg, I'd like to see a full season now that what he was doing in the.
It was a tough playoff run, right? I think I looked at a metric yesterday, the third toughest path to a finals or something like that in terms of opposition winning percentage. All these metrics combined, a tough run to get to. They were very healthy last year, which worked in their favor, as it does to any team. But I also wonder, too, and a question to you would be, and we mentioned that third line, how good it was late and kind of turning on there, and I think Broberg as well. When he came into that series against the Stars and got that goal, that was when it turned for me. Because now everything is just going right.
Yeah.
But how much of that is a bit of fool's goldie in a way where we look at a playoff run and say, okay, things are going well, and yes, the opposition was hard. Like that's hard hockey. But you made a mention over a course of an 82-game season, how much stock do you put into just that run? Because we've seen it before where a guy goes on a run or whatever, inflates and that's fine, as they should. But how much of that translates to a full 82-game schedule where, again, I knock on wood, but there will probably be a bit more injury around this team because they were healthy to a T last season.
No, see, this is the thing that intrigues me about Broberg is he went in a Dallas Stars series where he was a big reason why they got past. Like his play was
phenomenal,
fantastic. And then if everything goes well, then okay, well, that's great, blah blah blah. But he's been here before. He's been in Edmonton when things have really.
He took the plane right back.
Yeah.
I knew somebody was on the plane. She's like,
really?
He looks disgusting.
Yeah. But he did go through, being down 0-3 in the Stanley Cup playoffs and came back and played in a Game 7. You don't those types of experiences and that heartache of losing, I think, and having more and more of that throughout your whole lineup, making sure, like if you look at the Panthers lineup, a lot of those guys went through what happened the year prior, right? And there was and I'm sure it's going to be in this docu-series that we see. We always talk about, or hear anyway, there was a moment of the season when things were really in the pooper, and you saw the tap from McDavid and the tap from Draisaitl.
Carolina game.
Yeah. And then you... I don't know if a lot of people saw this, but if you did have the game recorded, Game 6 here, Barkov and Tkachuk were sitting beside each other, and they were having a discussion.
They did the tap.
They did the tap, and they were in each other's ear, and I was like, so I mean that's what leaders do. There wasn't.
But you can't do it all. You can't go to that well all the time.
No,
it's in those moments where it's just you feel it and you get.
And I was just like, okay, those guys are going to be dialed next game.
Yeah.
And
YouTube Trev, your thoughts on what Gage laid down here? Are you loving it? Do you have any debates to it? Stetcher season, a little Skinner up at line 1. What say you?
I think you should be a coach, Gager.
I am a coach.
With the coaching in this past weekend. It's tough to argue with that. Fourth line consisting of Evander Kane, Corey Perry, and Dylan Holloway. I like the thought of that, for sure. If that translates on the ice, could you imagine that? That would be huge for them. And then it took them all season last year to really, even in the regular season, they still didn't. Their lines were in a blender, and finally it was that mix and match that they got with the third line of Matthias Janmark, Connor Brown, and Henrique. So you don't mess with that unless was that just the playoffs? Time will tell kind of thing. But that was a great line. So that's the one as well as the first line with Connor McDavid. Oh, it's just it's just so flexible, and that's why we're doing this right now. But the first line of Connor McDavid, that should be and probably will be the best line in all of hockey. And that's the thing. If Skinner doesn't mesh well with McDavid, boo-hoo, he gets to play with Leon Draisaitl,
yeah.
like the consensus third best player in the world. So I love it. I really, really love it. The Troy Stecher signing was a blessing in disguise. I was so for this guy when they traded for him. I think he's faster, obviously, than Vinny Desharnais. He's no slouch in his own right. He's pretty physical. Like when the Flames didn't re-sign Stecher last year, I was surprised because I watch a lot of the Flames, and on most nights you're just like, wow, like I didn't realize how good he was. Obviously, he was younger when he played for the Canucks, and then he played for the Coyotes, and you never really watched the Coyotes. But when he was playing for the Flames, like he was very noticeable, a puck on net kind of guy, and I like that. Just get the puck on net, and that's. But he plays the game simple. He's got a good first pass. I think it's a great pick. Like, I love the thought of Stecher and Nurse. Could that work? I certainly think so. And he's a small guy, but like he's physical.
Doesn't
He
play like a
really
small
is.
guy.
No,
No.
he does not at all. So I'm very that's one player for sure. I'm excited to see going into next season is Troy Stecher, and then Philip Broberg. A little bit of a question mark. I like the fool's gold reference because it is true, right? Like
How much,
sometimes,
though? I mean, maybe it's not, but you got to kind of,
But like going into the playoffs, if you were to tell me that Philip Broberg was joining the rush, tapping his stick on the ice when Connor McDavid's to the left of him, like that's like huge signs of confidence, right? And I love that going forward. If Philip Broberg can provide that for the Oilers next season, that'd be awesome, right? And it was Ken Holland's first pick when he was joined the organization. I always really, really was just, come on, like how cool would that be? His first pick for the Detroit Red Wings was Nick Lidstrom, and another Swede. Obviously, he's not going to be Lidstrom.
We don't know.
You don't know though, but. This was one player I was so big on, and I always wanted his game to translate. I remember my first morning show, I talked about, this was back in December, but we were talking about Philip Broberg, and when he played for, represented Team Canada and Hlinka Gretzky, this was his draft year. He shot up in projected ranks because he just looked so good, and they're like, who's this Philip Broberg guy? So he has the skill. As far as points per game goes, he actually was right up there with Evan Bouchard when he was playing in the minors. Like he can put up the points as well, a little bit more of a playmaker, but I'd love to see him solidify, his status as an NHLer. I think that could be the case. And nothing to nitpick about your lines, Gager. And I think that's going to be a trend going forward.
They're all good
It
options.
would be really
Everything's
tough
good
to
hits.
mess up this lineup.
Yeah, no, and I mean the thing is, 82 games. There's going to be nights when the whatever the Connor McDavid or the they're just not going to have it.
Opposition.
What I like about this is any one of these the bottom six. I don't like it in the fact of the Oilers because on any given night, I think one of these two lines could be your number one line. Right? You would if they're going. I don't see Coach K he'd be going with them. He
Situationally speaking, why not? And now we're kind of finally out under that shadow of being a two-player team or whatever the old narratives were, right?
I just think the one thing about the Oilers lineup when you kind of look at it, I see throughout again that 82 game schedule that. You have the ability to hold back a lot of minutes from guys. You're not so you don't have to rely so much on your big dogs. Obviously, you can't start the game the season like they did, but
they won't. I mean, that was about as brutal as you unless they go without a win, like they picked up a couple. Like there are worse ways, but I mean, come on, like that. That was so. Yeah, if they go out to and they get things, and I think I agree. The points you made about Stecher too. I think all those points you mentioned, nice ingredients for that blue line that aren't already there. Yeah. Like all of those things, I don't think you kind of can say, oh, this guy brings that. Like Stecher would bring like a totally kind of a unique form in terms of a D man. And then again, as you mentioned, if beside Nurse, now you just let him do his thing. But we'll wrap it up there for the mix and match. We thank you to Pro-Am Sports once again. Check them out today if you need any jerseying, lettering, numbering, that type of thing. Midsummer spruce up, a touch up, if you will, for your Oilers gear. Check out proamsports.ca. That's good for the Italian Center shop. And I'm going to focus on this text that just flew in from Clint. And it's actually a good play for text of the day. If you want, 780-218-9999. what was good for you over the weekend here, and text in whatever you think, sports or otherwise. It could be anything else relating to sports, be it in the community or elsewhere. But the Massimo's Italian sausage at the Italian Center, I think there's still 2 left in the fridge for Zach, unless him and Stalker ate them all yesterday during the VIP golf show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. House brand, gluten-free, locally made with Alberta pork using a traditional recipe, available in both hot and the mild, and we've had both. They are delicious. Add some Italian flair to your next barbecue. Check out the Italian Center shop today. That's good. Clint chimes in. Good morning, fellas. This is a quick shout out to Gager. Unbelievable experience at the MAC-T this weekend. My son was fortunate to play on the Rangers. Bucky coached them up for a championship. Such a fun weekend. I wish the kids could do it every year. Sean McTavish and the entire group that volunteers were out of this world with the parents and kids. Thanks again. That comes in from Clint.
Oh, so great. I'm glad. Well, a champion too to boot. That's
a little bit of a brag, but yeah, you want to get out there.
You were probably featured in the stands, clapping, right?
Yeah, big sign.
I don't know. Maybe he got on the ice afterwards, put the kids in the cup.
But the kids too. Like, I mean, speak to them. Speak to this team that you had of these. I mean, emotionally charged individuals.
My kids were so good. The Blues were a joy to coach. It was so much fun. I love that age. Like I've always said, I don't think I'm a. When I stopped playing, was I going to get back into hockey? And I don't think I have the patience or just kind of the mindset. But at that age, I do. I have no problems. I would love to, if time permitted me, I would volunteer as a U9 coach automatically.
Let's get this guy some time, because I'd love to see it. I want your voice like this, and and being like just the coach with no pressure of having your own kid involved in any sort of fray. You're separate. There's no.
And I loved coaching my own kid, but I would love to just have all these, like on a full regular season with a bunch of 9-year-olds. I think would be great.
With no, and even when you're coaching your kid, there's always even if you wouldn't show, there's always talk sometimes.
I was probably the only coach that would come out in full gear though, so I'd come out and go and net against these guys. So.
And then you giving them massages after the game.
Oh, I had to.
More so than the under 9. You were talking older. Remember when Aikens was playing? Hall, Eberle, and Nuge 28 minutes a night because they were young and could handle it. How times have changed. That comes in from Big Slam Nasty. Well, they have, and I think Aikens has changed as well during that time. I mean, he was thrust and thrown into a situation where, I mean, you get a couple of hot years in Toronto, and all of a sudden you're poster boy for everything that is success.
If we could ever get Dallas into the hangout for 2 hours and have
Take me there.
Oh my God, man!
Yeah. No booze though.
Yeah, no donuts, no.
Just water.
We're not bringing Timbits. That glue guy's not coming with his treats. No, he would, and I think he's quite open in those types of situations too. Like I'd love to pick his brain and actually ask the question: what would you change? What would you do differently? You know, where were points along that your head coaching journey through Edmonton and Anaheim where you're like, oh, I wish I would have done that. Oh, I wish. And
we'd need longer than 2 hours because I think he'd be very open with that. He's kind of that type of guy that likes to learn.
Because we don't. When do you get a coach? Like, there's some guys that are really good at sound bites, right? Like, but to really pull back the curtain and see how I'd love to pick out situational plays, even with throughout. Having Coach Chris would be great in here. What were you thinking here? Why was this decision made? And to get the relaxed answer, it would. Fans would love it.
Yeah, the overall view, sometimes you forget about those moments in games that ultimately in every sport can kind of decide or shift.
What he's learned in this, as a first-year coach in the NHL, right? Like now that he has the kind of the summer to prepare, like seeing the board, circling what he wants. The players coming in.
He too is thrown into a hell of a situation and then just kind of takes you to Game 7 of the Cup final as you do.
I mean, he handled that like a pro. Just his implementing of his system, how he wanted everyone to play. It wasn't a massive change, but like he said, I think I gave them this to look at, and then built those little building blocks. He's a Jenga master.
I also, just a side note, did you see Steven Stamkos' introductory to the media in Nashville and everything? And he can go and he remembers every single goal. situationally that he scored. How about this one? Oh yeah, that was the overtime one, and so and so was on the ice, and I deked around him like that. Like he's got one of those
those weird
special mind, like the memory.
Just those
he called it, and he even said he was like, "Oh yeah." And
You saw what I'm talking about
Corey
there, yeah.
Perry was screening.
Yeah.
Like that was just insane, and the guy just
Every
like
single
just a
goal.
random
and
goal.
And he's naming him.
He was like,
So-
that was here in Nashville, because he said the date. He was
Yeah.
like November 2018 or something like that. He's like, that was here in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, Cooch passed it to me one timer, and Perry was screening the goalie. And it's like, wow, that's impressive.
That was some. I didn't know that about a little stammer there, but he's maybe we'll see him on a
What do you-
Jeopardy episode.
It'll be nice to see him. Well, Nashville, I guess. Yeah, I see him a little bit more this year. Right?
Yeah. Interesting Nashville.
Interesting.
They were flirting
team.
with success last year, that wild card chase and push and everything, and they never really had the team I think that you'd argue would. You maybe looked at them as maybe one of those Cinderella stories that could with the goaltending they have and everything. But Trotz ain't fooling around. Like he's going for the gusto here.
No, this is they're going to be. I mean, he said it in that interview. He said they've got the pieces in place. The Norris caliber defenseman, the elite goaltending. And a lot of duos up front.
Win now, and we can win. Why not?
Yeah,
Let's do the work.
Right? Yeah. So right now, you'd have to say,
Can't be all in every year, though. Hey.
No, but I mean they're tops with Edmonton. Dallas, I would still say is close. You can't. Colorado. It's a good division. Vancouver, I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, but they're still going to be there.
How many wins for the Oilers this campaign? 780-218-9999, or in the nasty chat, Siggy. Oilers 60 wins this year. He asks questioningly. Maybe that's what it is. But if you have a win mark for the Oilers this upcoming season, let's just play that fun game. Why not? We'll discuss maybe more during 3 questions too many as well. 780-218-9999 is the number to text, and you can chime in. Best text of the day gets $20 to A&W. Right now at A&W, you buy one of those frosted, chilled A&W root beer Slurpees, which are just going down. Their pop is good. They've never needed ice.
Yeah.
Like that's the best thing with A&W. No ice. You don't care. You don't even realize it. But those chilled drinks, like the Slurpee type of, that's good with the A&W root beer flavor. Buy one of those today. Get it for the second one free. So with this heat and smoke, it's a pretty good deal to get on. $20 to A&W for the best text. This comes in from Jack. I love how the CFL insiders, he says, quote, said the Riders are only off to a hot start because of poor teams. Disrespect. Ooh. Well, maybe we'll dive into that during 3 questions too many as well. We'll have some CFL Elks predominantly questions taking place during there, so get ready for that. Smitty the Welder says, any talk about the GM search? The trail is cold. Look, are we that concerned, boys? I'll go around the horn here quickly before 8 o'clock. If you're named GM today or Trev, I would throw my hat into Trev's ring. I think going with youth and analytics is always good. But does it really matter who the GM is at this point? We know that this is going to be a thing by almost committee here. Jeff Jackson's come in and done all the hard work. Let's say cleaning your house and then hiring a cleaning crew to come in. What's the point? Oh, okay, you bring him in, pay him, that's fine, and say, oh, look, you have cleaning. So Keith Gretzky, I mean, somebody internal, I don't know, and I don't care. Is it that? I know we care, but I think it's pretty good in your franchise and organization are a good spot where you really don't mind who's coming in to play GM because everything has been taken care of already.
And we talk about egos in F1. There's egos in the front office too. Which, if I'm a potential GM of the Oilers, well, what's my role? Like how much? Where does the buck stop? And I think there's.
And sometimes that's too much on the other side. You're walking into a hellstorm.
Yeah.
You see the rope and you're like, well, one of these days I'm going to be on the gallows here because...
Yeah. I mean, you're going to come in. And I mean, this isn't just on the hockey side of things. They're doing a lot of other business things with the team, season ticket holders, all those other types of things. But from looking at it from the angle of just hockey ops, there's got to be a decision made to get under the cap here.
Yeah.
Right. And so he comes in, makes this, puts together this something that
he does the sexy moves, and then they hire somebody to figure out the cap.
Figure out the cap.
Yeah.
I mean, it is essentially having a great party, and you know what? Can you clean this up? That's so. No one. I don't know. I don't know what if. I'm sure a person wants to come to the Oilers with the window that they're in. Right.
Oh, and that's the job. Yeah,
that's the thing. But you just have to. You have to massage this, and not a water massage. You have to get down deep and
We're talking about a Gerhardt special there.
Oh,
eh?
yeah. little Reiki here and get this cap finalized.
Smitty the Welder does follow up about his GM question, saying, I'm very concerned if it is Stan Bowman. I mean, maybe that's the one name. I know I say I don't care in sort of a general aspect of whoever gets this job. I mean, there's a lot done for you already, and you get the cap, but certainly it would be Oilers that with all the good things going on that you would go and get a Stan Bowman of all people. I just don't know why you would need to do that, what the need would be given all of the PR smoke that would come along with it, and rightfully so. I mean, I don't think this is...
There's already enough smoke in Edmonton, all right? Don't need that smoke.
I went up to there was a weed man truck doing a lawn service, and I walked up, I said... no day's too smoky for the weed man, eh? And just kind of took a second, and then, oh, yeah, here you go. And we went along with our days, but it was kind of I looked around, yeah. Would have benefited with more of a studio audience there, but no, and a few other people saying Mark Hunter as well in the Nasty Chat, so that's a name as well. I think that's been doing the rounds, but no, when it happens, you'll know about it, and we'll discuss, but until then, it's old 2J still kind of...
And that's when the Draisaitl contract will heat up, because that's what old JJ said, that it's not. We're waiting for the GM to come in. So
yeah,
maybe it's some Deutsch guy coming in.
Wouldn't that be something? Just Mark Hunter, 2 GMs, Mark Hunter for the McDavid camp, and then Gerhardt for the
Gerhardt.
Wait, you see him at the podium, and you
yeah.
after you pass out and regain consciousness again, you're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Sports update right now for Clayburn Services. We do need somebody for Kinda Easy Trivia. If you want to play this morning, give it your best shot. Kinda easy trivia, really easy. Gage is in the seat. You need 3 out of 5. Text in, I want to play. YouTube Trev will pick one random texter. $20 on the line to Mr. Mike's Steakhouse Casual. So come hard after that. Once again, text in 780-218-9999 if you want to play today the Kinda Easy Trivia. Gager's got the questions, you'll have the answers, and then you'll be off to Mr. Mike's, no doubt about it. Coming up in hour number 3, the final hour, the stretch drive home. Of course, 3 questions too many after Kinda Easy Trivia. We'll get into a little That Hurts for SBLLP, Alberta Injury Lawyers, and Gabe Lacques of USA Today. He is our baseball guy. It is the dog days of summer. We'll go around the horn with Gabe, talking about teams looking for things prior to this trade deadline, the Jays specifically, how much of a seller will they be, and some wild card battles in the National League. But first, a sports update for Clayburn Services. It's Lieutenant Eric Joaquin Gage, YouTube Trev. This is The Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Week 7 in the CFL wrapping up last night down in Calgary. It was the Stamps over the Lions 25-24. Calgary remained a perfect 3-0 at home as the Elks fell to 0-6 Friday with a 2014 loss out in Ottawa. Elks return home to host Hamilton Sunday afternoon as the club announced running back Justin Rankin was added to the practice roster. Well, the club also cut 4 players. Week 8 will kick off Thursday night for Montreal when the 5-1 Alouettes host the 5-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders. For the first time since 1982, it was an American sweep of the 4 majors in golf as Xander Schauffele. With his second major victory of the year, he takes the Open Championship, overcoming a 2-shot deficit, finishing 6 under 65 on Sunday. Over to the Diamond, where heat and smoke made it difficult to get the games in, but a doubleheader last night, so the Riverhawks dropped both in 2 of 3 from the Springfield Drifters over the weekend. Hawks' 9-game homestand continues tonight when they host Nanaimo. It's a game we'll have for you on Edmonton Sports Talk. Coverage gets underway shortly after 7. Edmonton 3 games back of division-leading Wenatchee entering play later tonight. Prospects shut out 9-0 down in Sylvan Lake by the Gulls. Prospects remain on the road. They'll visit Fort McMurray tomorrow night. Jays avoid the series sweep with a 5-4 win over Detroit yesterday afternoon. Jays will remain at home. They host the Rays for 3 starting tomorrow as MLB's trade deadline will fall next Tuesday. And the Olympics inching closer. Canada's national men's basketball team wrapping up their pre-Olympic play with a 103-93 win over Puerto Rico. Canadians open the tournament Saturday against 14th-ranked Greece. Along with Greece, Canada find themselves in the group of death, Group A, alongside number 2 Spain and number 5 Australia. Take your career to the next level with Clayburn Services. They are hiring all positions, including journeyman bricklayers and apprentices of all levels. Take advantage of their outstanding mentorship program and work with peace of mind, knowing they are an industry leader in safety. For more, check out www.clayburnservices.com or make it easy. Call Jeff, 780-910-6728.
The Nielson Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
.804, 805. You are tuned into the Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, streaming on the iHeart and YouTube radio app, and of course on YouTube. $25 to Mr. Mike's coming up here. $25 to Mr. Mike's for Kinda Easy Trivia. If you want to play, text Trev 780-218-9999. We are a few days out as well from the Paris Games, the Olympic Games opening ceremonies. That'll go Friday. Of course, as mentioned in the sports update, Canada's men's basketball team, they'll hit the court for real against Greece on Saturday. But the Olympics are on the way this week. We got a few days to get past here, as we are officially, I think, coined earlier today in the show, the dog days of summer. We'll have an EST draft going on later this week as well, the draft of film and movie props. Very excited about that. One which we could probably stretch out over the course of multiple hours, which we will only hang out, but probably more. We also got the Nasty Bash going on Friday, and if you want to get in on this season's Nasty Bash going down at the St. Albert Rugby Football Club, send an email, Matt, 2 T's, at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, Matt at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, if you want in on the Nasty Bash. It will be the party of the summer. You do not want to miss it. And it's one of those events where you do want to be present, because people will ask you years from now, hey, where were you on that one Nasty Bash where it was kind of cool and a little rain that reprieved us from the heat? And you'll say, yeah, I was down there, St. Albert Rugby Club, and boy, did I have a good night, and boy, did I learn a lot of things, because a lot of things will be coming to the surface Friday night down at St. Albert Rugby Club. But if you want in, email Matt at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Nielsen Show presented by Southfort Chevrolet. You can check them out today, www.southfortchev.com. Daniel and his team, they'll look after you. Tell them Dusty and EST sent you as well. 15% off accessories for your new ride. Your dealership for Silverado 1500s and heavy duties. 0% financing available on select models as well. Looks like we have a contestant as well. Trevor wrangled up somebody over the phone. Who we got today, YTT?
We've got Big G on the line.
Big G, he's coming hard after that Mr. Mike's money. Mr. Mike's Steakhouse Casual, the casualest place ever. Hampton Inn, corner of 137th Avenue and Mark Messier Trail. Check them out today. Big G wants to get there for either lunch, supper, or something else. But Joaquin Gage has the questions today. Big G, how you doing, man? Welcome back to the show.
I'm doing fine, thanks.
Have you played before?
Yeah, a few times.
Outstanding record. What are you looking at here for win percentage right now?
7 for 7 so far.
7 for 7. Wow, he's looking to go 8 for 8 today then. You know the drill here. Big G, Joaquin Gage will ask the questions. The ticker will start after he reads the first. You need 3 out of 5. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
All right. Did the Elks win over the weekend?
Negative.
Kelly Buckberger, true or false? Kelly Buckberger is back-to-back MAC-T champs.
True.
Did Oscar Piastri win his first Grand Prix race?
Most definitely.
Who's carrying the Olympic flag for the Americans at the opening ceremonies?
I don't care.
True or false? Water massages suck.
I don't know. I think they're kind of nice.
He got it.
He's going in his direction.
Sergio Ramos gets a nipple erection. Oh, is that dirty? This is not just a dream, it's a wet dream of orgasmic proportions. Oh, is that dirty?
Frustration sets in and the emotion goes out, and then you just start playing by yourself.
Oh, is that dirty?
You cannot come to my house. No, not today.
You cannot come to my house. No, not today.
All right, Big G is off to Mr. Mike's. Congratulations. That's how you start a Monday. 8 for 8 now, his record, as he looks to remain perfect for all time. He was kind of that LeBron one really sounds like a Jordan fan. Hey, maybe
I thought so. Yeah, I should have asked. Is LeBron James is the water massages of the NBA?
Yeah, then he would have. Yeah, what was his answer? He was like, actually, it's not bad. Because what you ask if it sucked or something?
They suck. He goes, no, they're not bad. We can go either way on that. It's a personal preference.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure he's going to Mr. Mike. Saw a lot of people. The mall is a fascinating place.
Especially when it's hot, because that's kind of the people want to hang out or hang out, you
Is
know.
that, like I was there essentially from Thursday till Sunday, and I couldn't believe how many people were there. Like I thought the thing just opened.
Well, plus you had the event that you were there for, which always adds in people staying.
Bourbon Street, like just I have a friend who has a few of the establishments on there, and everywhere was packed. I mean, they must have just they love this weather at the mall.
You got to be. Even with the Stingers, and sometimes you're like, it's a summer day and going to watch basketball, in which the Stingers will be wrapping up their regular season schedule on Monday the 29th. They'll be wrapping up the regular season, but it's nice to, anytime you can go in somewhere, and I think YTT certainly knows this, it's like not having a garage in winter. You go to those parkades, right? You stay there for a couple hours, let the car just kind of warm up a bit. But during these times, if you don't have an AC, I mean, certainly the mall's a good place to go. Even if you need to get some steps in, too smoky to go for a run or a walk, you go in there, do a couple loops, and away you go. So
how is the AC unit, Trev?
It's actually, I'm happy you brought that up. I'm installing it today.
Oh,
so Friday was pretty busy. Obviously had to prep for the big night. Saturday, it was day drinking all day. Yesterday, I was recouping from day drinking. So today, I'm installing it.
Oh, okay.
But I can't wait, because last night was the last night, hopefully, that I had to put beer on me to fall asleep, cold beer. But yeah, I'm going to put in the AC unit today. Buddy's going to help me, and I'm going to be posting it on Twitter.
Yeah, because you only got a couple. Having this puppy in for Thursday when it's 23 in showers is going to be kind of a... But then it ramps back up next week, so you should be...
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be looking good for the rest of the summer, I think.
Just to have it like a consistent temperature, though.
Oh.
It's...
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's in my... Ours is in my son's room, like I said, and it's so nice in there. So nice.
I just even love the white noise.
Yeah, no, it's a noise machine.
Yeah. No, I don't mind that at all. So, and pictures, please, if you could. Like,
I'll keep you up to date
please
on everything.
We want to see
like
it all.
every 15 minutes. My buddy, Ferg's gonna help me. And,
is he the handyman, or is this like a team?
He is.
Yeah,
he
okay,
is. He is a pretty handy.
You'll be supervising in a sense and kind of.
Yeah. As soon as I brought it in, he's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "You'll never guess." And so he was pretty pumped for me. He's like, "That's just the nicest thing ever." I'm like, "Of course." But he's him and his dad. He helped his dad with these, I guess, back home. So he knows what he's doing, and I'm like, "Okay, sounds good."
Love it. 3 questions too many right now for Park Mazda. You can check them out today, parkmazda.ca, your dealer for life, where Mitch Lewicki hasn't gotten the phone call to be Oilers GM yet, but his phone is on and ready to accept if he is so chosen. So parkmazda.ca, you can check them out today. My brother and his wife actually picking up a new Mazda over the weekend from Mitch and down there on Friday.
CX-9, 2021, right?
Yep, CX-9, yeah. So that's the one. So it looks like everything's going good there. But check out Mitch today as well, and the good people down at Park Mazda. And gentlemen, I mentioned, Trev, if you could share your AC installation, but where can people find you online, Twitter, Instagram, and the else?
You can follow me at YouTube_Trev on Twitter, and then Instagram, party_boy, PARDI_BOI.
I'm at Joaquin Gage 31 on Twitter, just Joaquin Gage on Instagram. I'm not on there as much, but there's some old videos. You can check out some old reels, mostly my dog and business. So if you like,
you got a great dog. I'll say that. I'm not just saying because you're here in the room with me.
I'm posting a good one because the dog park, they let it grow too much, so he loves going through the weeds and stuff. So I'll have a Chariots of Fire kind of video with old Boone.
Chariots of Fire. Let's get into this one. 3 questions too many. Question 1. Olympic sport you're most looking forward to watching this Olympics. And I've got the list here, boys. I'm not going to read them out all to you. But if you just search Olympics.com, you can go into Paris and just sports, and it's got the full list. It goes down alphabetically from archery all the way down to wrestling. Water polo, trampoline, surfing, sailing. I don't mind sailing. Getting into, you ever watch them? The competitive sailing, the real rich stuff. I mean, that's a sport. You give me a Netflix series on sailing, I might get into it.
There is one.
They got one on there, but the people in the
the famous when the Australians won the what is it called, the America's Cup, or it's, like the winged keel, how they brought the ship over and had it all hidden so they couldn't see, and the Americans were I forget the name of it. I believe it's on Netflix.
I'll need to, because that's a world I want to kind of get into.
It's one of those things where, as a kid, I remember my dad talking about. It's great. Awesome.
They're running from one side to the other.
Oh, yeah.
Ships going
Yeah,
all over
yeah.
the place. But fencing, the rest, equestrian. I know we mentioned that for the Cool Bit Canada Hotline of the Day. Of course, the basketball. I mean, those are the sports that always break through in the popularity. Canadian men's and women's will be competing in an Olympiad for the first time in a long time on the hard court. But anything stick out to you, boys? And I'm looking at more of those weird sports. Like, again, I say weird, albeit respectively, but give me a little speed walking, that type of thing. Anything jumping off the page for either of you here in terms of Olympics and a weird sport you're looking forward to watching?
I find it funny that a lot of it ends up on women's beach volleyball.
I
that
think
gets a
we
lot
all
of screen
kinda,
time.
It gets a vote for me.
But look, for me, it's always the track and field, 100, 200. Those races.
Is it still our Donovan Bailey love from those times? I think we'll never latch off of that.
I don't think so. All those.
But Penny had the pool games a few years back, where we all kind of now we're all pool people, you know.
Yeah. I mean, swimming's fun. Those types of things. When it comes down to, I'm not a massive fan of the judged sports. Unfortunately, it's just comes down to
politics and such.
Yeah,
rears
it's tough.
its head.
I like the clear cut winner events. Surfing again, I'd like to watch it, but then again, it's a judged sport, and then you go, how is that kind of?
What's the rubric here?
Yeah.
Why did you decide?
Yeah. But it's. I mean, there's sports that you don't normally watch, and you see hopefully one of your compatriots there, and you can cheer for your country on. It's great.
The breakdancing for me as well. My wife's cousin was in town. He was at a break contest, like a dance off.
Yeah.
And it was wild. Like, this is it's like sailing. This is a community in the world that you don't even know exists. They're at St. Basil's Ukrainian Church, and there's like tens of thousands of dollars line. People from LA, Chicago, New York, all up there. So I now kind of got introduced to the sport or the game, and I'll be watching that with a cocked eyebrow for sure. But again, a bit of a judging thing as well. You go to judges, and it's like who's got the better style.
Yeah, it comes look. I'm a dance dad. It comes down to look and what you're wearing.
The flair,
yeah,
and just confidence as well.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of these things. I mean, Olympics too. You're looking more of an individual aspect, and if you show up there unconfident, you're probably not going to get where you need to be.
Trev, what are you looking forward to?
I'm just looking at the breaking right now. The breakdancing.
Yeah, hey?
That's new to me. I never knew that was an event at the Olympics
this year.
I think it might be. This is the first one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Was skateboarding in the last one? Yeah. So that's second time.
Yeah. So skateboarding, that's obviously going to be cool. Anything with track. Like I love javelin, discus,
high jump.
High jump. You know what? I missed. Yeah, the high jump's awesome as well.
When that pole bends, man, you're just like, what's going to happen next?
It's crazy. I love the psychological warfare of the jumping events too. Like they can. Okay, I'm just going to go to this height, and everyone's got to get there.
Yeah, but then do you feel a little bet on yourself?
Put the pressure on everyone else.
And sometimes they don't make their previous jump, but they're boost it up even another inch, and then they make that one, and then you're like, what
happened there? So, the track and field Summer Olympics. That's why I watched the 100 meters. Seeing these guys all race horses in the blocks before, and it's
well, and then the false starts.
False starts. I also I love diving. I love the diving. I find that very satisfying. It's so cool. They do all these crazy tricks, and then it's just a pew, like nothing, no splash.
No
and you're
splash.
Just like,
yeah.
You're probably too young.
So
There's
cool.
a movie called Coneheads. You've probably watched.
I think they have cards at Wayne's.
Oh, really? Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, the Coneheads, and his daughter's a diver, and so obviously with the cone head, just goes in like a knife.
Doesn't even make a ripple. Just straight in. 780-218-9999. Did we miss anything, or any other sports that you're? Again, not anxious, edge of your seat to watch, but just, again, I think the Olympics provides a nice little, you're sitting back. It's kind of like the summer soccer tournaments. You don't need to know too much, and you just kind of let it go over you.
Canada basketball against the U.S. basketball intriguing to you? Like
if they
meet up?
That's going to. And I think in terms of like team, like this will be the one. I think Winter Olympics, obviously hockey, right?
Yeah.
Curling, you could always say up in Canada. But for this Olympics, that basketball one, that's going to be huge if we can, because And again, what happened down in what was it, Vegas a few weeks back, I think too, with all that, and we got close, and the USA, they're playing with nobody, and they got past. Yeah, whatever. But this group is gonna be tough to get out of, though. I mean, you boys. I mean, Greece, 14th ranked. That'll be the first opponent for Canada Saturday. They're also paired with number 2 Spain and number 5 Australia in that Group A. I mean, if they get out of that group, it's a success. It should be seen as a success. But we put a lot of stock into them. So we'll see what happens. But certainly basketball is the one you kind of get up for, and then all the rest. The speed walking to me is just.
So a funny story about speed walking. So my wife coached Carolina Costner. She carried the flag for Italy at the Winter Olympics. She's a world champion figure skater or whatever. Her boyfriend was he won the Olympics and was part of a big doping scandal. And I guess Carolina got banned for a year just because she was dating him. Like they were.
Oh wow,
and he had steroids in her house in Gardena or whatever she was in the
accessory.
Like he was keeping them in the freezer, and she got banned for a year. She never partook in any of this stuff, but put a little strain on the relationship.
I would wager.
Yeah,
and you're that close. Like they don't mess around. Hey,
it's another Netflix series. Yeah, awesome.
Question 2, boys. One player you could add from the past to this Elks squad. And I'm talking former, Eskimos of the past, but only players that have played for this particular team. Somebody from the past that you could add today that would make a difference. I'm going full Sean Fleming here. Give me the kicker. I know Dean Faithfull was booting. There's some video of him booting kicks down at Commonwealth as well, keeping that leg fresh and loose. So we might see. I just think, look, pick your poison here of what has been ailing this team over the season. And, of course, getting rid of Chris Jones, maybe step one of many here moving forward. But in terms of just the roster, if you could add one person on, and when I'm adding one person on in Sean Fleming, I'm also taking off of Boris Beatty. But the past 2 weeks against Ottawa, a team that, again, it was a tough start to the season for the Elks in terms of opposition. Not making excuses, but I think that's a reason. But these games against the Red Blacks, you needed to at least split this one. You couldn't lose both. They lose both, one at home, to the Beatty gaff, which, again, there's more to it than just that. But when you're going 4 for 7 and leaving 9 points on the field in Ottawa, a lot of things could have been rectified by just getting that W and making a few more kicks. So for me this morning, it's Sean Fleming. Back in the kicker. I'm not adding it's not an explosive player or anything, but I'm going the kicker this morning just based on what we've seen off Beatty. Any thoughts for yourself? You can say Ricky Ray if you want. That's fine.
I see. I'm looking at it from a hot dog selling standpoint, getting butts and seats.
I like that. Okay, yeah.
So it's
winning isn't everything. You want the excitement.
I want name recognition here. Someone that's gonna move the needle. I mean, if you could turn back the clock, but keep the panache of what they brought.
Yes,
I think a Gizmo Williams coming back, and just the Giz is back. I think that puts
some backflips or something.
Yeah, backflips, maybe a couple returns. I mean, the specialty teams haven't been great.
Nope.
So
Sheldon S says Gizmo should be on the bench as our hype man. Why not?
He looks like he could still play.
And Hernan could be reeling him in. That job at the coach, you get it on the back of the belt and you kind of pull him back.
Yeah.
Get a lot of love for Giz. Giz all day from Filthy. Gizmo. So that's kind of what it is there. I like the Gizmo shout. That's a good one. And again, I'm saying he's coming in his prime. Doing what he did.
Yeah, doing what he was made to do.
Aiden O'Neill, Patrick Kabongo is who we need. And when looking at that offensive line, that's not a bad shout there as well. I don't know if you're saying it. Last time I saw Kabongo was at Grey Cup 2019 down in Calgary. He joined us in the Friday night preamble party there, where you tweeted out anything with hashtag Grey Cup and Spirit of it, like it was put on the big screen.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
So we were tweeting everything and anything and taking pictures. Kabongo showed he's such a sweet man, but it's like he shows up there. He's got his jacket. He's holding it in his arm. He's just wearing normal clothes, no team memorabilia, just a nice sweater. And then he's getting a little. I think he spilled a drink on it. He's got a little stain and holding his coat. And it was just such a nice man. But maybe Kabongo is who you need on that O-line to beef things up. Something on the O-line.
Is there still plans to get out to Vancouver for the Grey Cup?
Loose plans, but again, like we do here at EST, we bite off a lot. we bite off, and then we're chewing. We got a mouth roll. I got to swallow it. I think I'd love to. Like you know me, CFL. That's my bread and butter. And we went to the great. 2018 was here. 2019 was Calgary. We were supposed to have the Prairie Triad in Regina. 2020 obviously got side railed there. But I love a good Grey Cup, and whether it's in a prairie city or a coastal, the Vancouvers, the Torontos, it's a little more whatever. I think EST would bring the party. And I'd love to be there alongside Jerry and everybody else spirit. So if we keep kind of poking Iwanic during the summer and keep it top of mind or top 10 of mind.
Riders look like, they have to be early favorites, you say? Or?
They're winning maybe with a lot of injuries. They're playing for... They are right now what the Elks aren't. A new coach that has changed the culture dramatically. And injuries keep piling up and they keep winning. Guys will run through invisible wall. He's got them... And you need a leader here. This organization screaming out, crying out for a leader, whether it's either an executive, and nothing against Rick Lawlisher. I think he's making some astute decisions as time goes on, but really that rallying point. Yeah. Not a lot of coaches in world sport, I think, have that man management. There's only a few you can really identify that get guys buying in to whatever they're selling. And I think that's you need that here to kind of reset the culture. But for the Riders, they're looking good right now.
That was an exciting game.
Very exciting.
It was a very good game.
And the Bombers, they needed that one bad. And everything transpiring near the end with Big Hill taking down Shea Patterson. People pissed off. It sets up a juicy Labor Day.
I know.
Labor Day is going to be on fire down there in Regina.
That was a little late.
Yeah. So question 3, though, and this goes back to the Oilers, and somebody brought it up in the nasty chat, but straight up, how many wins for the Oilers next season, boys? And now you can maybe say, no, you know what? No maybes. I need an exact number. What do we got? Right. Trev, do you got any numbers for Oilers wins next season? Just straight up wins.
I'm going to go... I'm just trying to see what they had last year. Something...
52 last year?
49, 27, and 6.
49. Okay, I'm going to go 56. 56 wins.
Yeah.
It should be better.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
You won't have that start where you have to climb out.
But knowing the Oilers, I feel like there'll be a little bit of a lull in the season, probably like 2 weeks, and that'll bring it down. But 56. I like that number.
That's a lot.
It is a lot of wins.
Vancouver capturing the division had 50 on the nose. 50, 23, and 9 for 109
I think they could
points.
be that good.
I'm going to say 50. Right on the nose.
Yeah, and I'll go a step. I'll say a little above 50. A 51, a 52, or something like that. 53.
That's a lot of wins, man.
But again, if you take out that start, you take out the start, the way they played, you know what I'm saying? If you reverse that, they were on pace to get probably. Right
around there, yeah.
Better team, arguably, roster-wise. We're saying that. Goaltending's figured out.
I don't want to give them too much praise because they don't.
I know.
They don't deal with it.
The annoying thing.
They can't deal with it.
That's why I wondered too for this regular season. I think last year, nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to start the way they did. But had you not had that in order to play feet to the fire all season, that's. As we say, when their backs are against the wall, it seems you get the best out of them.
I like them in an underdog role.
Me too.
I think it suits them better. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but when watching the game, I find that they play better. Or the style of play is different when they're expected to win and when they're playing a team where it's a toss up. It's a different.
And do you think it is a case of them reading lack of a better term, reading the press clippings, but you don't I don't think they're a group either that buys into a lot of that stuff. So that's why I'm wondering why sometimes they're better with the world against them as opposed to being the puncher's favorite.
Well, it's the old Michael Jordan. I took offense to that kind of thing that you can, right?
Yeah.
So he can use other things to motivate you. You always need a little something. Not that the Oilers don't. Well, I mean, there's tons of things that they can use probably on a regular basis if they were to just look at someone's feed or pick up a paper. So it's
that's why they keep spec.
Yeah, I know. Just get spec.
No offense.
Okay, everyone go in.
All good here. It's just a joke.
Go into the spec room and have him asking questions for the next 20 minutes.
The secret weapon, right? He doesn't even count against the cap.
Yeah. Actually, spec would have got a ring. Yeah.
Well, that's keeping the feet to the fire. It's important. Text flying in 780-218-9999. Hugh Campbell comes in from Vaughn Thompson. In a variety of roles, perhaps. Willie the Terminator Plus, maybe Terry Ray. Those are good shouts as well. Kerwin Bell should come back, so everything he scores a touchdown, he could recreate spiking the ball into his nuts when he was with the Argos. Yeah. Kerwin Bell could. I mean, that guy was a shotgun for an arm.
Yeah.
I mean, a 500-yard passing night was nothing out of the ordinary for old Kerwin Bell there. Jason and Leduc, we love you, buddy. These Oilers are the worst front runners ever. 100%, Gager.
It's weird.
It is weird, but that's kind of how they are. I don't know. And that's why, do you want them to have a... I don't want them to start the way they did, but I don't want them... You get out to a first 20 games and you're sitting atop the division, everything's fine, then you kind of coast your way, for lack of a better term, to the playoffs.
Not that you want anyone to ever get injured, right? But maybe one of their key guys having to have some time off.
Maintenance, shall we say.
Yeah, just, so he's tweaked something. He's out for a couple weeks. Maybe other guys get thrust into positions where they're counted on more to offensively or contribute in that respect, or, just that solidifying the defensive side of things. There's going to be, gosh, who knows what's going to happen? It'd be crazy to say you know what it is. There's going to be ups and downs. But I think how they can handle those will affect how they play when it really matters.
And this fan base, you can tell right now it's
already a boiling point.
But even last year, it's like, get to the playoffs, get to the Cup final already.
I know.
And there is a again, you mentioned the injury thing, which was off the charts in terms of how healthy they were last. I mean, that was
especially on the back end. Right,
it is amazing. So this is a new season, new challenges, as you mentioned in front of you. So let's just. I hate to be that guy, but yes, there's a full 82 games to play. Then you got to go through the gauntlet of a playoffs to get to a Cup final again. I just thinking it's because the Panthers and that whole example of sitting right in front of your face. It's not a given. It's not guaranteed.
And it's so you look at the road ahead and how long it takes to get to that point. When they made the final, I thought that was a feat. That's amazing.
Absolutely, it was
that they could get there and remain relatively healthy and battle for a chance. And they were 2 shots away from winning the damn thing. So you don't get any closer than what they did. But it is a long road. But it's nice to have that experience throughout the lineup.
You'll get better experience than that.
But
that's.
I'm thinking of what I could give a real rabid Oiler fan. Lack of a better cliche, just take it one game at a time. Enjoy the ride more. Don't because it's going to be another, I think, a really successful, fun year for the Oilers and Oilers fans.
Just enjoy it. Enjoy it while you're doing it, because we all know what the opposite side of it feels like, tastes like, smells like, and all the rest. So, game at a time here. And we'll take it a segment at a time as well. We'll hit a sports update here. We'll be back with Gabe Lacques of USA Today. We are in the dog days, baby. We'll take a full round-the-horn trip of MLB circles, trade deadline approaching. What does that mean for the Jays? What does it mean for the Dodgers and some other teams? And as well, a fascinating National League wildcard race. That's all coming up next. Lieutenant Eric, Joaquin Gage in for Dustin Nielson. YouTube Trev, this is The Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Edmonton Riverhawks back on Edmonton Sports Talk tonight as their 9-game homestand continues when they host Nanaimo. Our coverage will get underway shortly after 7. Edmonton 3 games back of division-leading Wenatchee entering play today. Sticking with baseball, the Prospects have the day off. They're up in Fort McMurray tomorrow night as they were shut out 9-0 out in Sylvan Lake yesterday. Jays avoiding the series sweep with a 5-4 win over the Tigers. Jays host the Rays for 3 starting tomorrow as MLB's trade deadline falls next Tuesday. We'll have more on the Major League Baseball picture coming up next. Once again, USA Today's Gabe Lacques. Week 7 in the CFL wrapped up last night down in Calgary. Dustin Nielson had the call as the Stamps would hang on to defeat the Lions 25-24. The Elks, meanwhile, they fell to 0-6 Friday with a 2014 loss in Ottawa. Elks return home to host Hamilton Sunday afternoon. Club also announced the signing of running back Justin Rankin to the practice roster, while the club also cut 4 other players. Week 8 will kick off Thursday when Montreal hosts Saskatchewan. Canada's national men's basketball team wrapping up pre-Olympic play with a 103-93 exhibition win over Puerto Rico. Canadians open the Olympic basketball competition Saturday against 14th-ranked Greece. Along with Greece, Canada sit in Group A, the tournament's group of death. with number 2 Spain and number 5 Australia. Sports Update brought to you by Big Mama's and Papa's Pizzeria. BMPP is a real pizzeria restaurant, not just a delivery pizza chain, serving authentic Italian cuisine with their made-in-house pizza dough, traditional tomato sauce, and fresh toppings. Each pizza is cooked to perfection. It's a pizza experience you've been waiting for. Visit them today, 12848 97th Street. Order online, www.bmpp.ca, or call 587-746-0550.
The Nielson Show, featuring Lieutenant Eric. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
8:34, you're listening to The Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Lieutenant Eric with you. Dustin Nielson will be back tomorrow. He was wrapping up Week 7 last night down in Calgary in the Wally Buono Bowl between the Stamps and Lions, to which the Stamps emerged victorious, a perfect 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road for Calgary this season. So Dusty will be back on the show tomorrow. Joaquin Gage along for the ride today, and we appreciate his time. And YouTube Trev manning the monitors, the mics, and the music today as he's on the 6s and 7s and doing it quite well, I might add. South Fort Chev is the presenting sponsor of the Nielson Show. You can check them out today, www.southfortchev.com. Check them out in Fort Saskatchewan, 10109 89th Avenue, 15% off accessories for your new ride during the month of July. So head on down there, tell Daniel that the team from EST and Dustin sent you, and he'll take care of you, as the famous line goes from Throw Mama. Oh, no, it was Goonies. Goonies, that's the line that the shirt that Dusty all has. Got my days mixed up here. It's so weird having somebody in on a Monday. These Thursday, Friday shows, you love the Fridays.
I'm waiting for someone to come in and give me beer.
I know. Weird. Well, wasn't that a great brewery as well over the weekend?
My brother-in-law made homemade limoncello. So to reciprocate, I got him some of the IPAs that we had from Wild Wind. So
Trev knows that due to the
yeah. And it was one that my brother-in-law's never had, and it was delicious.
Perfect. There was some good beers, and we think Jen coming in, and it was a good time to kind of listen.
She was great,
very educated. Way more than Scott Lurie ever was.
Yeah,
kidding, Scott. Our next guest of the day, and we'll be going around the horn here as a sense, Gabe Lacques. We've been talking to him for years here, and we appreciate his time as always. Covers baseball for USA Today. You can check him out on Twitter, at Gabe Lacques, LACQUES. Is that last name. Gabe, welcome aboard again, my man. Let's just dive right into this thing. And I want to get your thoughts, just a recap, a tidy recap, if you will, of what All-Star Week, the game, the Home Run Derby, and all that meant to you and how you digested it.
Yeah, interesting week, to say the least. A couple format changes to the Home Run Derby. The Derby is a funny thing. It's either compelling or it's not, right? This one was okay. There was no Ohtani, there was no Bryce Harper, a neat little story with Teoscar Hernandez beating the hometown kid, Bobby Witt Jr. in the final. It was fun. I don't know how it played on TV, but, it was all right. The game itself kind of, I don't want to say it's going the way of the NBA All-Star Game, but it felt, you could feel it be a little devoid of intensity, I guess. It was really sleepy until Ohtani hit one, halfway to Houston, and it kind of woke, oh, hey, the best players in the world are on the stage here. I don't know what people think of the uniforms. To me, they seem kind of ugly. I talked to some people who spent $230 on a hat jersey combo, and they seem to love them. I don't know. It's a weird time in the world. What can we say, But it was all right. It was fun. The All-Star Game lives, and for better or for worse, you might say.
Your description of the All-Star Game, and for listeners and viewers just joining us, maybe they think you're talking about this year's edition of the Toronto Blue Jays, 45-54. Gabe, 9.5 back of a wild card. Disappointing to say the least for Jays fans up here, but kind of wanted your thoughts. And as you are at this time of the season, and your winning percentage is sitting at a .455, trade deadline looming once again. I do believe next Tuesday. Your thoughts, Gabe, specifically surrounding this Jays teams and how they approach this deadline. Sellers, yes, but to what degree do you believe?
Yeah, it's you kind of got the sense early on this season that things just weren't going to sync up. When Bo Bichette was hitting around 200 and George Springer was really really struggling there for a while. that was a time when they got good pitching,
Yeah.
really good pitching from guys like Kikuchi, and you knew that like some of it wasn't going to hold up just because everything's cyclical. There's no Bob Gibson on the staff. It's a good pitching staff, but and then it all just kind of slowly fell apart. And I think to what extent is a great question, and I think. I've kind of been on this train all along that they would never totally blow it up because, man, they spent so much money on Rogers Center renovation and everything else, and they were really a couple playoff berths, 89, 90, 91 wins, I think the last 3 years. So this group has been right there. What I do wonder is when you say extent, okay, maybe Bo and Vladdy, they run it back. Maybe they have a real off season next year and complement them with some good players. Has this latest nosedive edged maybe a couple of other guys under contract next year into the conversation? The question the Jays need to ask is, how do they value a guy like Chris Bassett for 2025? Do they see him backsliding? And would he be of greater value to a contender in 24 than he would be to them in 25, which is when I think he's on the last year of his contract. So you could trade a Bassett and a Kikuchi, and you'd still have a Gosman and a Berrios and a pretty good building block for a rotation next year. So, certainly the spare parts will be flying, the Justin Turners, maybe Danny Jansen, certainly Kevin Kiermaier if they can find a taker. To what extent do the Yimi Garcias and the Chris Bassett enter the equation? That's going to make it really interesting, especially because the trade market is so weak, and those are some pretty decent assets to have out there.
Yeah, and I think for some Jays fans, Gabe, you would argue they don't even trust the people pulling the strings and levers on some of these potential deals as the roster buildup has taken the shape that it has for Jays fans. I wanted to get you just sticking with the trade deadline. I mean, who else do you kind of see as in terms of big players, big swingers out there prior to the deadline, or maybe making the most moves, or a move here that you may have not have seen in the tea leaves here leading up to the next week's deadline?
Yeah, I think there are going to be some sleeper cells out there that are going to be really interesting, like teams that maybe traditionally have never made big moves because they haven't been contenders, haven't had the money, what have you. I think the Orioles are fantastically positioned. It just depends on how deep into their treasure trove of top prospects they want to get to. But this is the year, their young players are almost peaking in a sense. Corbin Burns is a 1-year rental. You need to get one more starter to have Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, and number 3 guy, and suddenly you have a great look for the playoffs. How deep do they go to get a Garrett Crochet? That to me is the team that can and should make a big splash. Big question to me is the Cleveland Guardians. They've never traditionally been a buyer. You have to go back almost to 2016 when they took a big swing at Andrew Miller. Yep. And got him in and got to the point of a 3-1 World Series lead before coughing it up. Of course, everybody in Toronto remembers how great he was in the ALCS. It's time for them to bring in a pitcher. And oddly enough, the lineup is kind of more the strength right now than the starting pitching, which you have never thought of in Cleveland. So those are 2 teams that really intrigue me. And then, the National League, 8 or 9 teams in this wild card derby. How serious do they take themselves? So that's it's going to happen really fast because the next 8 days are going to create some shakeout. Even still, we anticipate the trade deadline practically, from April on, which is kind of insane. Yeah. But it is still a deadline. It is still 5:59 on July 30th. So until that point in time. It's all, hey, the content is great. He gives you guys something to talk about, gives us something to write about, and people gobble it up. It's crazy. But again, because of the late movers, I think it will truly be a deadline where the very last swipes are going to be right there at the buzzer.
Gabe Lacques joining us, USA Today, covers Major League Baseball. I'm glad you brought up the National League in that wild card chase. You mentioned 8 teams jostling for those spots. Trade deadline aside, and regardless of the fantasy moves we can make in our mind and thinking about which team will do what, as it stands right now, Gabe, who do you kind of like getting those spots, and who will be on the outside looking in come playoff time?
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, I and a lot of people were penciling the Atlanta Braves in to certainly, nail down the number one. Losing Max Fried and Ozzie Albies in one day is really tough.
Yeah.
That said, let's just go ahead and elevate them. But right now, for those other two, I kind of like the two teams out west, the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The Diamondbacks they're getting back Eduardo Rodriguez, they're getting back Jordan Montgomery and Merrill Kelly. They played real well going into the break. Won a couple games at Wrigley out of the break. Padres just took 2 off the Guardians behind Michael King, and Dylan Cease. And
that was a big two. That was a big two. They were slipping here recently as well, eh?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you say, "Oh, the Juan Soto trade was a wash." Well, it's still the gift that keeps giving. They get Michael King for Soto. They get Dylan Cease for a prospect who came back in the Soto deal. So it's AJ Preller is really good at he's like the snake that just kind of keeps his tail just keeps growing back. They're right there, and I think they're primed for a pretty good run. I'll believe it when I see it, when one of those NL Central teams has a really nice month-long run of sustained success. But right now sticking to the East and West to snag those 3 spots.
Don't got any horse in the race when it comes to the NL, Gabe, but I really have been kind of attracted to this Pittsburgh Pirates story throughout the season. Don't ask me why, but I follow a lot of sports personalities down in Pittsburgh, and so I kind of get caught up in the wave of happiness with the Pirates here. 50-49, one of those teams that you mentioned, a half game back now of a spot. For them, though, is it just a case of, it's been a fun season, you're not normally here, the run was nice, but we'll see you later? Or, are they still kind of just on that edge? You mentioned the Diamondbacks, Padres as your 2 taking those spots, but will they be kind of right there battling those 2 as well when it comes down to the final couple of days?
Yeah, I talked to Brian Reynolds a little bit about this at the All-Star break, and his point was just, we just got to hit. And because, the pitching is there, and usually it's the inverse. And it's a really good point. Skeens is an amazing, amazing sort of a building block. It's unfortunate Jared Jones is injured, but he'll come back. And it's really interesting if you follow a lot of guys down in Pittsburgh. Surely you've been hearing some of the Rowdy Tellez discourse.
Yeah.
They wanted him released. He was so on June 6th he was batting 193 with a 498 OPS. As we sit here today, he's at 242 and 671, which is not MVP numbers, but water finds its level, and that includes Rowdy. So but it's one example of what they need. They need offensive production wherever they can get it, and so far, it's the way they closed the break, the way they opened it, they take 2 out of 3 from Philly in a series that Paul Skeens doesn't pitch. That's a pretty encouraging sign. So. They're definitely not going to sell, and if they merely play 500 to the break, I think they would have to pick up a piece just to kind of mollify their fans a bit, who once again have grown so exhausted from bad baseball over the decade.
Yeah, those Pittsburgh Phillies games are always good watching on TV up here in Canada. You get that little score crying with the P, the 2 zeros when they're scoreless, and then the other P on the end. Gotta love those games there, Gabe. One last one for you. I just wanted to go off the diamond in the Baseball Hall of Fame, welcoming 4 new members yesterday: Adrian Beltre, Jim Leland, Joe Mauer, and Todd Helton. And I want to get to this quote as well, courtesy, I do believe, Ryan Fields. He issued in a tweet, Jim Leland recalled a coffee date with his wife a couple weeks after being elected to the Hall. I said, Katie, could you believe in your wildest dreams that I'd be going to the Hall of Fame? Katie replied, Jim, you're not in my wildest dreams. Watching Leland have those, smokes in the dugout and the Florida Marlins and all that, he resurrects some fond memories for me when I was a little younger. But your thoughts on this group of 4, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, Adrian Beltre, and Leland getting into the Hall?
Yeah. So we'll start with Leland since you brought him up. Just a sweetheart of a guy, and he comes off really brusque. He got the cigarettes. He got that, before the era of even viral videos, him and Barry Bonds going at it in the batting cage and spring training 1989 or whatnot. But man, you want to talk about a guy universally respected by his players. So glad that he got 1 World Series. Probably should have gotten at least 1 more with some really good Tigers teams. Beltre just consummate a guy that posts every day, a guy that's such a leader. Really resurrected his career nicely. He went south for about 4 years in Seattle, signed with Boston. Perked himself up and then became arguably the greatest Texas Ranger of all time. And then Helton. Always an interesting case, He played in Coors Field in the heart of the 2000s, which might have been the greatest offensive environment in the world.
Yeah.
Clearly, he got it done on the road as well, and he's certainly a deserving guy. Had to get in there on his penultimate try, which is always. You get down to that's going to be Billy Wagner this winter. It's always scary when guys get down to the end, and it's a little bit scary, But and then Joe Mauer, it's nice when a guy has his career cut short, yet voters recognize the impact that he had because he didn't catch the last 6-7 years of his career. Really unfortunate to have run into the concussion problem that he did, but a great hitter, one of the greatest hitting catchers of all time, and really represents his community so well. So a really solid class. And I definitely don't want Leland to get lost in all that because he was really a gem and someone that I think in baseball really misses in their dugout.
Yeah, it's a likable group, and as you mentioned, the color that he brought to a dugout and a broadcast or whatever certainly doesn't go unnoticed. I got him leading my group before there as well. So nice words there, Gabe. We really appreciate your time, man, as we continue to sashay through the dog days of summer. But enjoy the rest of the stretch run and all the best during trade deadline.
Yeah, appreciate it. Anytime. Always like coming on with you guys.
There you have it. Gabe Lacques covers baseball, everything baseball for USA Today. Always appreciate his time. It's funny, I see Will Fraser walk in here. He's going to be on the Hangout later. That was the guess that we're getting into summer. Things are thin.
Yeah.
And you're like, gee, I'm calling out for a hero. I need a guy. And Gabe would... anytime, and he'll go around the diamond. You can talk any team, and so Gabe Lacques was kind of a guest that we always had, Will and I. And it's funny, we get Gabe on the line, and here Will walks in. So all of that happening at once was kind of funny.
I was shocked because just kind of looking up things, they had the top 50 kind of trade bait board, and Bichette and Vladdy were like 5 and 6 or something like that. But he says they're most likely staying put, and
you'd have to the fan base is already at this odds. If you go out there and do a trade and
rebuild
and try to sell them on something, or you'd have to get a king's ransom, and you're not going to get it. So
because they've been injured and stuff. Yeah, okay.
But what does the re-signing look like and everything? It's look, they did the renovations and all that. They got the dollar dogs and everything. Like they do good things there, but it's roster construction right now. And that's, again, we go back to the whole winning is everything isn't or whatever. You're doing all these other good things, and the window dressing is great, but that roster just feels like fans feel like it's being picked apart. And you keep kind of floating. It's like you get out to sea and the current's taking you. And you see land, but you keep floating out there, and then before it disappears. But
it's Tom Hanks and Castaway.
And the beach ball. We'll get back on that for the draft coming up. So we thank Gabe for his time. Let's get into the wrap now for William Huff. If you want your place to look as good as ours, visit the team, WilliamHuff.com, in business since 1952. So you know they are incredible at what they do. WilliamHuff.com. Gents, what did we learn today? Aside from learning all about YouTube Trev's weekend, Twitch was a busy one. He got the AC. That's being installed today. He had the date. That went off good. The friends visited. Had a couple of days, and it was good. You're feeling good. We're going back out tonight. We're going to have a good time again. This is going to be a fun week. We got the draft coming up. Nasty Bash Friday, if you still want in, Matt at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Email him. There is a +1 option with that. But, boys, anything you're picking apart from this morning's show that you're learning, the knowledge?
I just hope I provided a teaching moment with my...
Your voice sounds great.
Oh,
but
thanks.
When you came in this morning, I think you're exercising it out, a couple cups of coffee.
It's coming around a little bit. I can feel it cracking at certain points, but it was deep. It was deep.
You did have a few. During the show.
I did. Yeah, so that's all right. Whatever.
Everybody needs
it's
a few
Monday.
of those. Eh?
It's Monday. It'll brighten you up on a Monday. But hopefully I provided people with the knowledge that they didn't have to jump into the water massage. They could just go.
That's it. You did the hard work, so nobody else has to suffer.
So I mean, by all means, you can try it. but I think you would be better suited to just hit the Bed Bath & Beyond and hit the massage chair.
And I learned that Trev's never had one, alongside a few other nasties as well who confessed to never actually having at all ever a massage.
Oh.
Trev, you go to the gym, you're a fit guy. I think it would do you a world of good. Like once he tries
Just
one, he's going to go back.
I'll go to an actual masseuse.
No,
though, right?
yeah, we're not talking. We're actually talking straight up here.
Yeah, you're not.
Lots of chiropractors and clinics do it, and they're very good. And just again, you feel. You almost have one once a month, I would say.
Yeah, well,
It's
I mean,
good to
most group plans have coverage for. It's usually like $500 a year you can use on massage, right? And if you're a young business owner and you don't have a group plan, reach out. I can help you out with that.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I like that. I learned about breakdancing at the Olympics, so that'll be cool to watch.
And you are
these
in.
People,
like you're
these
kind
people
of,
are busting moves. That's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I used to rock with a piece of cardboard and pop and lock down in the downtown Vancouver as a kid.
Well, and the attitude you mentioned, though, too, like at this competition that my wife's cousin was in a few weeks back, there was an 11-year-old girl in there.
Ugh.
And she had this big head of hair crimped, but she was like walking up and like the attitude was just...
One of the...
It's like wrestling without the physical.
It reminds me of obviously my daughter's been dancing for years, but my son did it when he was... a younger age because he was too young to leave at home, so he had to come to the dance studio while I waited for my daughter.
Oh, so you just naturally kind of, yeah.
But I go, well, there's a all boys group. You might as well do it. And Vince, the choreographer, made a superhero themed dance with the kids. And for people that don't know what it entails, you don't see them. Like it's not like hockey where you just watch. They're in a room, you can't see in there. But my son was the Flash. And so the first time seeing it, I mean, there's the Hulk, there's Superman, there's Batman, all in their costumes. And there was one point where everyone is supposed to go slow-mo, like Matrix stuff. So they're all moving. But my son, being the Flash, has to run fast. So he runs around the group twice. And one of the best numbers that I've been part of. And it was partly because my son had a unique part in it. But it blew the roof off the place afterwards. It was just great.
I can imagine. I mean, the Hulk, that would be you're drawing straws on that costume. Like, what do you spin around on your back? Is that the only move? He
jumped up, hit the ground. They all fell down.
Okay, well, that's,
and then they all popped, and they were popping and locking. Oh, it was great, man. It was so good.
Need the tape on that one. Text of the day, $20 to A&W. It's going to Clint. He had a very nice shout-out to you, Gager. Good morning, fellas. Quick shout-out to Gager. Unbelievable experience at the MAC-T this weekend. His son, fortunate to play on the Rangers. Bucky coached them for a championship. Back-to-back, right?
Back-to-back champions with
Tough
Kelly
doing
Buckner.
that.
Good start for the new season in Devon, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, great point. Point. Such a fun weekend. Wish the kids could do it every year. Sean McTavish and the entire group. Out of this world, parents, volunteers, kids, thanks in Clint, and maybe that's something you can run up the flagpole there to everybody else involved, and it's.
Oh gosh,
I'm sure you were getting the accolades and everything yesterday.
The smiles on parents afterwards, because that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, is I'm always thinking, okay, are the kids having fun? That's smiles on their faces with their tears when they lost. Yeah, and it's.
Were you angry and breaking things on the way home? Yes, you were.
There were no garbage cans kicked over this weekend. Okay, and
no water bottle fights on the bench.
But it's when these parents come up to you afterwards and they're like, "That was so amazing. We had so much fun." And they're not all from Edmonton, right?
Yeah, for sure.
They're from all over. The one kid, I go, "Where do you play?" Calgary. "Oh, you live in Calgary?" "No." And he's like, "Oh, well, where do you live?" "Canmore." And I go, like, he was such a sweet little kid, and he couldn't wait to staying at the hotel and getting ready for the game and stuff. And they all have the black under the eyes, so the glare and stuff.
When you're staying there and like you go to this big mall, you're at a hotel, you're on the road, like that's like you're feeling. You watch all these guys on TV all the time in their suits and going from buses and stuff.
Yeah.
Now you feel like you're part of that. That aura, hey?
Yeah, I always give parents crap because they're carrying their kid's bag. I'm like, he can do it. And they're like, oh,
Zach Brown, that type of thing.
No wheelie bags though.
No wheelie bags, not allowed. Not on Gager's team at least. So that pretty much wraps the show. As mentioned, Dustin Nielson back tomorrow. Kind of an odd one as he had the call last night down in Calgary, the Wally Buono Bowl. Everybody was out. I think it may have been a bit of a. We'll get the details tomorrow when Dusty's back, but I think they may have had a good time, as you should. I mean, in a situation like that, Wally Buono got his name. I know it doesn't resonate here well with Elks fans, as he was kind of the person who led the search for Chris Jones and everything. But here we are, and he got his time last night, so that was good. And a thrilling end to a Week 7, albeit not for the Elks. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a close game, but damn it anyways. And I didn't want to... It pisses me off. Maddie will be chewing him up in the hangout, rest assured. Will Fraser is here. Jeff Chrishel's in the house as well. Probably little Tommy the Wrench here. It's 8:58, so he's ahead of schedule if he, where we got lots of time for him. But thank you to the Nasties this morning. Pretty good showing here in the Nasty Chat on YouTube. We did change 100, so that's nice. Climbing up to 200. So if you are on the YouTube chat, we will auto-play you, auto-tune you over to the Hangout as usual. So keep locked on there. Hit the like if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up and hit that sub as the drive for 10K continues. We are over the 9.51K subscribers, so let's keep that going. If you haven't already sub to the channel on YouTube, it ain't that hard.
Go to your friend's house. Log into their computer.
Go to the library.
Yeah.
Okay? Like get on all those computers, log in, whatever you got to do. We will have Riverhawks back on the station tonight as well. Their 9-game homestand continues tonight. Game 4, it's a 3-game set against Nanaimo, and they're looking back. Springfield, it was a weird schedule given the heat and everything. They had to play 2 last night, to which they dropped, but Springfield, you look at that team, and it was something where you could have made a lot of hay. Unfortunately, they didn't, so here we are.
I was always thinking it would be great if I could call a road Riverhawks game, because I always think of the Bull Durham with the guy with the bat and the 2x4. Crash Davis down the line.
I want you in a booth with Al Coates on color. That's my dream team broadcast.
That would be great.
Maybe that's a Make-A-Wish type of thing. You get up there.
I'd love it.
For myself, Joaquin Gage, appreciate the time as always, especially after coaching. Big weekend for you, big morning. Voice sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Dustin Nielson back tomorrow. YouTube Trev, he did it all today. The music, the monitors, the whole bit. So we appreciate his time as well. Hangout coming up next. Dustin Nielson back tomorrow. Love you. See you at the ballpark tonight.